Part 28. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 271. Li Yuan returned to the company to have a meal and then sat in the office. Since the liquidation of the third phase fund, he has not been to the company much. There are too many things going on, and it's more like rushing to a party, taking a look here and a look there. While reading the documents, he listened to Yu Yu's oral report. Regarding large AI models and intelligent algorithms, these are industries that require a lot of investment. The salaries of relevant practitioners are very high, and there are many invisible expenses. It costs millions to run a single data, and every team runs it every day. After reporting for a full hour and a half, Yu Yu finally finished all the key information. Until the end, Yu Yu said, "Boss, do you still remember Meng Jiangguo?" Li Yuan raised his head and glanced at Yu Yu, and said, "Remember, Qingtian Capital belongs to others, and he wants to take away the money invested. At the beginning, there was Meng Jiangguo's 5 million in Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, and Meng Jiangguo promised not to redeem it within 3 years. For Meng Jiangguo, it was just a way of supporting his younger brother and giving him an explanation for his original discount. In fact, Li Yuan never cared about the 5 million, but after all, Meng Jiangguo had good intentions, so he didn't say anything. No, he wanted to find a job and contacted me a few days ago." Li Yuan was shocked. "Yu Yu looks for a job for Meng Jiangguo?" Meng Jiangguo's position completely overlaps with his. If Meng Jiangguo comes to Qingtian Capital, some of his power will be taken away even if he cannot take the position of general manager. "Is Yu Yu so generous?" Li Yuan first asked, "Isn't Mr. Meng planning to go back to his hometown? Why do you suddenly want to work again?" Yu Yu said, "I'm not sure. Maybe he traveled for a year and found that 40 million was not enough for retirement. After all, Yu Yu has Meng Jiangguo's WeChat friends and can see Meng Jiangguo's circle of friends traveling around. Maybe it's because I admire the boss. After all, who doesn't want to work with the boss?" Ever since Li Yuan released his title as the richest man, it has been easy for Qingtian Capital to recruit people. Just because the financial business was not expanding quickly, it did not recruit many people. Other businesses have expanded rapidly, but they are not well known. For example, Bixen is not well known now, but it is the company with the greatest demand for employees. Only then did Li Yuan get to the point and asked, "Mr. Yu really wants to introduce Meng Jiangguo? His position highly overlaps with yours." Yu Yu hurriedly said, "What did the boss say?" "Mr. Meng's personal ability is much stronger than mine. Moreover, the scale of Qingtian Group is getting bigger and bigger, and my energy in Qingtian Capital is getting smaller and smaller. I'm also worried about delaying the boss's big things." "Huh? From what you say, do you want to hand over your affairs at Qingtian Capital to Meng Jiangguo?" "Yes, I think Mr. Meng must do better than me." Of course Yu Yu was reluctant to part with it, because Qingtian Capital was Li Yuan's core business, and everything was based on Qingtian Capital. Even the Qingtian Group is just a rich empty shell. Only Qingtian Capital has the ability to create blood. But as the business grows, his part-time job as general manager of Qingtian Group naturally becomes larger and larger. He doesn't want to have any power in his hands. That would not only be useless in the end, but would also cause trouble. It has nothing to do with the pattern. He simply wants to stay under Li Yuan for a few more years. Once something happens, he won't be able to survive. Only by giving up the core position of Qingtian Capital can he have the energy to be responsible for other things. Although those things didn't have much opportunity to express themselves, they were still serious jobs and they had some power. Moreover, when he took the initiative to give up, Li Yuan would still talk about his kindness. Even if he made a mistake in the future, Li Yuan would not pursue this matter too deeply. Li Yuan thought for a while and said, then you will be responsible for the interview. Meng Jiangguo is definitely capable, and much stronger than Yu. Fully capable of seamlessly transitioning into Yu positions. Let Yu go for an interview. Selling to Yu is a way of saving face. After all, it is a good thing for Li Yuan that he can take the initiative to give up his position. Qingtian Capital is about to make a big move, and Yu simply doesn't have enough energy to take responsibility. It's not that he is nostalgic, but Yu is so easy to use that he would be embarrassed to find an excuse to take away the power in his hands without making a few mistakes. Yu was overjoyed and immediately said, "Okay, I'll contact Mr. Meng right away." Being able to owe Meng Jiangguo a favor was already the best outcome for you. Don't be anxious, and you don't care about 1 or 2 days. Next, your main focus should be on Qingtian Group, based on hard comparison, expanding our payment business, building our data center, a large model, and how is the acquisition of the automobile company going? We have already found 2 companies, one is Lifan Motors in Shancheng and the other is Haidu Motors. Boss, please wait a moment while I go get the information from the 2 companies. Good. Li Yuan knew the former, but had never heard of the latter. 2 minutes later, Yu brought the information. Li Yuan doesn't need to look at the former. This company is not bad. Although it has debts, there are many companies eyeing this piece of meat. He mainly looked at the latter. You don't know if you don't know, good guy, he is really a treasure. It mainly produces micro-electric vehicles, similar to Lautool, but more formal than Lautool. No one knows what the material of Lautool is, but Haidu automobile is certified, so it can be regarded as a serious car. And what they have been doing is electric vehicles. Lifan does not have a tram platform, but Haidu does. Moreover, the price of Lifan is not cheap, and many people are eyeing it. Haidu's business has shrunk extremely seriously. In the past 2 months, it has not sold 10 cars in total. That's a small bean cart, one worth 10 or 20,000. At present, Haidu Auto's debt has reached as high as 600 million, which is insolvent for their products. The sparks produced by the production line are not even worth the 600 million. The boss wants Haidu Automobile? This company only produces mini cars. I'm afraid it has no experience in producing large cars, and it can't even be considered a real car company. If you buy it, you may have a lot to add. After all, Yu is responsible for this matter, and he must tell the truth. He knew that Li Yuan wanted to make an electric car and was interested in Haidu Automobile's electric platform. But there is a difference between platform and platform. No, I want Lifan. You can go and try to make contact. But Haidu Automobile also wants it. Get both companies and then merge them. One has experience in building cars and the other has experience in building electric platforms. It would be best to integrate them. The most important thing is that it's not expensive. After basically getting rid of the debt, there is no need to give any money. Knowing the situation of Do Automobile, if Li Yuan takes over, he might still be able to make money. Good. Yu felt that Li Yuan was particularly interested in this matter. It was obviously a sinkhole industry, and it was impossible to build a car without burning tens of billions. It seems that many rich people are like this. Do they want to burn their money after they get rich? I'm a little stuck. There are not enough words in these 2 chapters. Let's move on to the next plot immediately. What I missed today will be made up for tomorrow. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 272. The spread of the stall is too large, and the eggs can easily be pulled. Therefore, Li Yuan would only set the general direction and not even consider the price. All he can do is set standards and manage money. Although there is still room for manipulation, for example, when Yu went to discuss acquisitions, he made a yin-yang contract to let the company get more money, and he took the opportunity to receive kickbacks. But now the money system is very complete. If you want to check it, you can definitely find it out. However, once something like that happens, short-term losses are inevitable, and Li Yuan cannot make the company absolutely honest. The entire company system has standards, and only a few people have real access to money. If something goes wrong, investigate it. Anyway, the entire group is currently under Li Yuan's control. Even if something goes wrong, it won't be a big deal. The real big problem that may arise is that after he retires, no one can check his power. Essentially, various problems arise due to uneven interests and imbalance of power. For example, at Penguin Group, each department has great power and cannot cooperate with each other, causing them to fail in many projects. Internal corruption is also very serious. Take Byte for example, because it is a new company, the interests of various departments are consistent, and power is very concentrated, so various projects will cooperate as much as possible. Of course, they are not lenient at all in cutting off users. There is no bottom line or anything like that. The power of Qingtian Group is currently in the hands of Li Yuan. Once he retires and a successor comes up, the old management will become bigger. If the newly appointed heir has no ability or prestige to hold the company back, the entire structure will fall into chaos, and all aspects of the business will fall into endless internal friction. Why did the ancient princes specially form the Eastern Palace Cabinet? Essentially, after ascending the throne, they had a team under them that could compete with the veterans left over from the previous emperor. Yu took the initiative to delegate power this time, which was not only good for Li Yuan, but also better for the future. At least Li Yuan doesn't have to worry about him becoming bigger, and he will be more trustworthy in the future. That night, Li Yuan met Meng Jiangguo. The old senior was in good spirits. The two chatted for a while and finally talked about Zhangzhou University. It is said that Zhangzhou University has a bad reputation now. Anyone on the internet dares to say that he is from Zhangzhou University. Someone will immediately make an issue with Li Yuan. As for the application situation this year, Zhangzhou University, which was approved in advance, has to downgrade its admissions for all majors. These are all coming from the internet, because at this time, the early approval has ended and many results have come out. Li Yuan didn't pay much attention to this matter, and he didn't bother Zhangzhou University again in the future. It can't be that his success is also the original sin, right? In fact, Li Yuan knew very well that Zhangzhou University was not the only school with problems. In the next few years, a lot of school problems will be exposed. Anyway, this society will always advise you, as a man, be more generous. Meng Jiangguo is not young either, 7 or 8 years older than Yu. Li Yuan was not worried about him taking power at all, because he had already retired before he retired. 3 to 5 years is considered normal, 7 or 8 years is considered to be a good energy, 10 years. May he have a long life. Meng Jiangguo has obvious advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that he has good management skills and has a manager's vision. Even though his previous company didn't get off the ground and was only so-so, he was able to build a company of a certain scale and his execution ability was not bad. As a management, what you are most afraid of is a lack of execution ability. Many people have countless ideas in their minds, but when they actually do it, they either have no clue, don't know how to start, or are lazy. Execution has strict requirements on these two, and both are indispensable. A management that can really get things done will not be bad at execution. The disadvantage is that he is older, almost 50 years old, there is not much gas in the tank, and his thinking may not be able to keep up. After 3 or 5 years, Li Yuan will have to consider the situation of substitution. Li Yuan is in need of someone now, and he has no choice. Things in the future cannot be an excuse for the present. The annual salary of 2.3 million has been set. There is no Yu Gao, because both Yu and Guo Meng have raised their salaries once this year. Yu's salary is now 2.6 million, and Guo Meng's is now 960,000. In the industry, Qingtian Group's salaries are not high, especially for management. The ordinary employees below are gradually aligning with those of large companies, but the salary of management is still several levels behind. A company of this size doesn't even have a single executive with an annual salary of tens of millions. But no management feels that their salary is low. After all, Li Yuan is the only one making money in the entire company. Their job division is very clear. Some take the blame, some do odd jobs, and some serve as housekeepers. In the evening, Li Yuan returned to Chenji and had a meal. "Sister Chen, please help me discuss the investment in the name of Lianhua Trust. I have prepared the specific data." Li Yuan took out the documents he had prepared and handed them to Chenji. Chenji took one look and said, "This is a bit big, I'm afraid someone will criticize you. After all, trusts are considered foreign capital, and you are being watched by many people now." Li Yuan said nonchalantly, "If they have money, they can use it. The valuation I gave is not low. Qingtian Group is 200 billion, Qingtian Capital is 100 billion, as long as they can come up with 30 billion, I can give each other 10% of the shares. Who wants to control me even though they don't give me any money? Who has such a big face?" Li Yuan has not received any policy dividends so far, nor has he received a penny of subsidies. Chenji was not afraid of what Tang Jianjun would say. After all, people knew that the trust belonged to Li Yuan. "Mainly because I'm afraid of what those who don't know will say. The world is so big, and Tang Jianjun alone has the final say. Many uninformed people also have power. When the time comes, they will take the lead on the internet, saying that Li Yuan gave his company to foreign investors, and even publicize that there are foreign investors standing behind Li Yuan." However, Chenji can see from the data that even if Li Yuan's left hand beat his right hand, he did not play fake. A 10% stake in Qingtian Capital is worth us $4 billion, which means that Li Yuan values Qingtian Capital at us $40 billion, which translates into a market value of us $260 billion. A 10% stake in Qingtian Capital is worth us $1.5 billion, which is equivalent to a valuation of $100 billion. It is the same price as the 20% share sold to Tang Jianjun before. Bixen is currently worthless, and the purchase price is only over 100 million. Li Yuan wants 20%, which is us $10 million, which is equivalent to a valuation of more than 320 million. Jushin Media's 20% stake is worth us $40 million, which is equivalent to a valuation of us $1.3 billion, which is relatively low. Qingtian Securities and Bixen Pay are purely complementary. The two businesses have just started. Li Yuan basically gave a valuation of more than 1 billion, which is already very generous. Overall, the data given by Li Yuan are very reasonable. Except for the Qingtian Group's funds, which Li Yuan wants to cash out, all other funds are capital injections. Capital injection has a greater gold content and cannot even be calculated simply by valuation. Even though everyone thinks that the company in Li Yuan's hands is not simple, it will definitely be able to do it in the future. But if you really want people to give a valuation that exceeds expectations and invest real money, no one is willing. This is the case now. I feel that whatever Li Yuan does is profitable. If he doesn't succeed in the future, no one will care about it. But once the project is successful and the investment makes a lot of money, someone will definitely say something shady and investigate closely to see if Li Yuan sold so many shares to foreign investors so cheaply. Is Li Yuan a scumbag? Chenji knew that Li Yuan had the confidence to say such things, because he is now the god of wealth and many projects are counting on him. It's just unclear whether he will be liquidated when he comes down from the altar in the future. In fact, the world does not welcome the top rich, because the birth of the top rich means that wealth is more concentrated. This is especially true in China. Many uninformed people cheered and wished that the world's richest man was in China. In fact, the top rich are the scariest. With a net worth of hundreds of billions, at least several trillions of wealth can be leveraged. The more money the rich have, the less money they have below. As someone said, when a cockroach appears on the surface, it means that the cockroach behind the scenes can no longer hide. So are the rich. After a top rich person appears in the centralized system, it means that there are a lot of rich people behind this top rich person. Then I will do as you say. Is there anything else you want to explain? No, I'll do the rest myself. That night, Li Yuan called Tang Jianjun. The thing is simple, he is going to list Qingtian Capital. Listing now is an excellent opportunity. After the first wave of new stocks is over, there will be a wave of good times next year. Tang Jianjun was a little embarrassed after hearing Li Yuan's conditions. If you want to go to the gym, that's okay, but, if you want to go to the main board, 10% does not meet the requirements. Li Yuan is only willing to IPO 10%. This is something he would do only if he has absolute confidence in the company. Most listed companies want more, the better. If it weren't for various restrictions, they would all want the founder to clear his stock account and leave on the first day of listing. Boss, I also want to give 20%, but the question is, can I afford it if I have the funds? 10% is 15 billion, and 20% is 30 billion. It can be regarded as the first A-share IPO. Who wants to take it? Li Yuan also wanted to release more, but the problem was that the market's bearing capacity was limited, and he didn't want to take away so much money from the market all at once. Then let me think about it. Tang Jianjun couldn't make up his mind for a while. He also felt the money was too much. Qingtian Capital has 10,000 reasons not to go public, but since Li Yuan took the initiative, he would not refuse. Then just think about it slowly and it will be on the market in December. It's still early. The process still needs to be followed. How about you borrow a shell? If you borrow a shell and get part of the OTC funds, the impact on the market will be minimal. Tang Jianjun made a proposal. Forget it, Shell Resources is rubbish to begin with. I don't want to encourage the trend of A-shares speculating on Shell Resources. Li Yuan thinks that there is nothing wrong with hyping up anything, but there is something wrong with hyping up Shell Resources. Although A-shares are a casino, you can't bet so nakedly. In the past, there were many restrictions, and it was justifiable to speculate on Shell Resources. But things are different now. The registration system has been piloted and the difficulty of listing is very low. They are still speculating on Shell Resources just to save trouble and make quick money in the market. Well, then you wait for me for a few days. Boss, if you are in trouble over there, I have an idea. You can see if it works. You say. Qingtian Securities is considered to have underwriting qualifications, and we can produce and sell it ourselves. There is no problem with Qingtian mixed small and medium caps. Theoretically, the basic investors in Qingtian mixed small and medium caps should also have the right to enter new markets, right? Can Christians create new ones? Obviously it's not possible, because there is no such button. But in fact, for fund companies, they can do something new. Use Christian money to build new. Are you sure? Tang Jianjun didn't expect that Li Yuan thought this way. Well, when the time comes, it will be given to the fund holders through allotment of shares. I feel like I can absorb 5% of it. Doesn't this mean that I have to give out 15%? Li Yuan also wants to benefit his own citizens. After all, those who can persist in it at this time have either forgotten it or have faith. He also read many private messages, all asking him if he still wanted Qingtian mixed small and medium cap as his biological son. If it is absolutely necessary, it is simply because there is not enough time. It's almost mid-July, and he's preparing to enter the market. Well, Then I'll think about it and give you an answer within a week at most. Good. Qingtian Capital's asking price is indeed too high. But if the asking price is too low, Li Yuan is not willing. He knew that Tang Jianjun would definitely agree in the end, so after hanging up the phone, he sent a few messages. In the next week, Qingtian mixed small and medium-sized caps, and hundreds of millions of funds came in every day. At this time, Tang Jianjun also agreed. Li Yuan asked Meng Jiangguo to start submitting IPO materials, and at the same time, Qingtian Capital issued an announcement. This means that Qingtian Capital is in the process of IPO. As long as it passes the IPO, 5% of the shares will eventually be distributed to investors who have held positions in Qingtian mixed small and medium caps in the past 10 trading days. Distribution will be based on the market value ratio of the position, 2:1 or 1:1. For example, if you hold a fund worth 50,000 yuan, then allocate stocks worth 25,000 yuan or stocks worth 50,000 yuan. The final data still depends on how much the share is. Anyway, a ratio of 2:1 is definitely possible, and 1:1 is a bit difficult, unless more people give up. Moreover, those Christians are still required to open an account at Qingtian Securities. Even if it is easy to open an account online, some people may not be willing. There may also be situations where everyone has no money. If you want to get stocks, you have to add money to your securities account. As soon as the news came out, Li Yuan made headlines again. I have never thought in my lifetime that I can make new investments by buying a fund. Upstairs, you are mistaken. This is not a new deal, it can only be regarded as a rights issue. Isn't it the same as launching a new stock? How much can you earn from a new stock? Qingtian Capital has to double it, right? Brother, I can only say that you are overthinking. You can tell by just looking at the announcement that Qingtian mixed small and medium caps current market value is more than 8 billion. Even if it is based on a 2:1 allotment, 5% of the stock is worth 4 billion. The valuation of Qingtian Capital starts at 80 billion. For a large company with 80 billion, it would be good if it can reach the daily limit on the day of listing. Damn it, when did the Qingtian mixed small and medium-sized market reach more than 8 billion? Last month I saw more than 6 billion. Someone must have gotten the news in advance, otherwise Qingtian Capital would not have made an announcement before it passed the IPO, and Yuan Shen would not be able to avoid related investors. Can you please explain to me whether this is a good thing or a bad thing? Brother, although I am only 26 centimeters, I can tell you that selling it on the day of listing is the wisest choice, just to earn some pocket money. Yuan Shen probably also wants to compensate the users who still stick to the fund in the bear market. Anyway, don't have high hopes, Qingtian Capital's ticket doesn't have much holding value. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 273. Financial stocks are subject to greater market fluctuations. They believed that Li Yuan could make money, but in the face of a bear market, didn't Li Yuan run away? This shows that Li Yuan cannot go against the market. If you make 10 billion this year but not next year, how can you support the market value? Therefore, valuations of financial companies are relatively low. Among A shares with an average PE of 40, the general PE of financial stocks is only 16, which is close to bank stocks. For tickets with uncertain performance, the market will naturally respond with both hands and feet. Even if you make a lot of money, you will not be overvalued. That analytical comment received many likes and was recognized by countless people. Everyone believed that Li Yuan was simply giving some benefits to everyone. Fu Zonghai doesn't think so. His house has not been sold yet, but he has invested all the money he saved, plus the 50,000 yuan borrowed by his parents before, which was said to be a bride price for him. He is currently holding a position in Qingtian Mixed Small and Medium Caps 230,000. If he could get a 1:1 allotment of shares, he could get shares worth 230,000. He has no money left, so selling the house is inevitable. Part of the funds from selling the house will be used for allotment of shares, and the other part. He was a little confused. Should I invest in Qingtian Mixed Small and Mid Caps or buy stocks? He has never bought any stocks and does not know much about stocks. Even before, he had never thought about buying a fund. I really have an inexplicable admiration for Li Yuan. He didn't know why Li Yuan went public, but he always believed in Li Yuan's vision. Li Yuan went public just for that little market value. Come on, he is already the richest man. According to news in the first half of the year, he earned tens of billions of dollars in the US stock market. Last year, he also made tens of billions of dollars in Bitcoin. He was born to make money. In current popular terms, this is called the innate money-making body. Is he going public just for a market value of tens of billions or 1 or 200 billion? Does this amount of money count in his eyes? This is Li Yuan's first move in the domestic financial market since he has been dormant for a year. He firmly believes that there is definitely more than that. Li Yuan paid 5.2 billion in taxes. Because he sold 10% of the shares of Qingtian Group and finally received 20.8 billion. After receiving the account, Li Yuan finally had pocket money. I had tens of millions left in my hands before, but they had all been spent unknowingly. I transferred 10 million to Xu Yanlin and spent another 10 million to buy something. Qin Si's matter also cost 10 million, and he subsequently transferred it to Zhou Ranran. Then he spent 5 million on Cao Yuan, and successively gave his parents several million more in living expenses, as well as the production costs of Zhou Ranran and Zhang Yuling. The Qingtian Group still had money on its books, and he had even advanced the money from 13 Taibao to buy the fund, because they had hoarded tens of billions of wine and he hadn't settled with them yet. In the end, it must be in the name of Qingtian Group. His personal money can no longer be used for business, and it is all kept for himself. As long as it enters the business process again, this money will have to pay various taxes. If he can legally avoid taxes, why doesn't he do it? It only makes sense that wealth is distributed in his hands. At the end of this year, he will still spend as much money as possible. This 5.2 billion personal tax is enough. Not giving it to Zhang Zhou is the greatest luck. Because last time even if Tang Jianjun came forward in person, the thunder was loud and the rain was light, but the group of people didn't dare to come and stab him. In August, Li Yuan opened 4 phases of Dai funds. This time no one attacked him, and he was relatively tired from playing in the US stock market. There is no opponent, which means there is no chance to get rich. Occasionally, if you are lucky, you can earn 3 or 4 points, but most of the time it is within 1 point. It took until September to barely double the funds held. In fact, Morgan noticed him the first time he entered the room. But after seeing his operation, I had no idea of sniping at all. They were accidentally taken into a ditch by Li Yuan again, and they didn't know how much money would be occupied. Seeing that the end of the year is approaching again, they don't want the scene last year to happen again. A large amount of money was stolen from Bitcoin, and Morgan's entire performance was dragged down. In the first half of the year, Nvidia was held back a large amount of funds. In this bear market stage, Morgan not only failed to maintain its fundamentals, but its overall performance was also very poor, which is inseparable from these two things. Even Vanguard and BlackRock know that Li Yuan has entered the market, but who dares to provoke him? It is true that they opened the US stock market, but they fell out with Li Yuan just for $1 billion. Like blocking his account? Ban him from entering the market in the future? What's the reason? Because they can't beat it? It's so embarrassing to say it. And they discovered that Li Yuan didn't make money that fast. If they hadn't assisted, it would have taken Li Yuan at least 3 or 4 months to earn 10 billion US dollars. Is it a lot? Indeed, there are many. Even a capital company like Pioneer BlackRock with a scale of over 1 trillion US dollars has a net profit of only 30 to 40 billion US dollars a year. Li Yuan is about to top the next top capital company by himself. But compared to Li Yuan's previous rate of making money, they are quite satisfied with the current rate. Good for everyone. Now is definitely not the time to fall out. They can create an entity list and sanction some high-tech companies in China, but there is no way to sanction Li Yuan. Sanctions will only make him more recognized. Li Yuan also felt that the days without opponents were a little boring. Not only does it require more effort, but it also doesn't make any money. For Yao Yingsong, after experiencing the previous issues, he already understood. Li Yuan is very capable and can make money even in a bear market. But he prefers to have opponents. The stronger the opponent, the more he earns. Now that he has no opponent, he is obviously more tired. The fourth phase is over, we won't do it this year. In addition, make preparations. Next year, the amount of the fund will be increased to 10 billion US dollars. At that time, Qingtian Group will account for 20%, and the rest will be given to you. By the way, we will start to do long-term business next year and liquidate once a year. During the trading process, Li Yuan set the tasks for the fifth phase of the fund. Yao Yingsong could only write down everything and then report it to his leader. Early September. Li Yuan finished work at 5 o'clock in the morning and did not go directly to Chen Ji's house. He hadn't seen Xu Yanlin for a long time. On the one hand, Xu Yanlin was busy studying medicine, and she missed a lot of courses last year. On the other hand, I didn't have time, so I just ran around, and a few months passed. Even though Cao Yuan was flirting with him every day, he didn't let Cao Yuan come over. He didn't send a message to Anna Shen. After he came over, he opened the door and walked in. He pushed open the door of Xu Yanlin's bedroom and lay on the bed. Xu Yanlin reacted and was shocked. "It's me." Li Yuan's voice comforted her. Xu Yanlin quickly calmed down and said, "Senior, have you just gotten off work? Are you hungry?" "I'm hungry, let me take a bite." Okay." Xu Yanlin didn't know much about Li Yuan's work before. Not just her, many people don't know Li Yuan's working hours. If you want to find out, you have to sort it out yourself. According to the information on the internet, you can know that Li Yuan is trading US stocks, and US stocks usually close at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. These are what Anna Shen told her. It would actually be very good if Li Yuan was simply regarded as a financial backer father. The more money you give, the less things you need to do. It's normal not to see each other for half a year. But who would be willing to just let Li Yuan be his sponsor father? But there is no way to play an important role next to Li Yuan, so he is destined to be a marginal figure. It's pretty good to be thought of once in half a year. I thought you wouldn't come back today. Li Yuan also knew that he hadn't been here for a long time. Xu Yanlin would probably be at school on Saturdays and Sundays. Unexpectedly, he suddenly came over without saying hello, but Xu Yanlin was actually there. "Well, how could I forget what the senior told me? Unless something happens at school, I will go home on time and wait for the senior." "So good." If you don't behave, senior's money will be wasted." Ha! Li Yuan likes Xu Yanlin because of her inexplicable desire for control. You can clearly feel that she can't let go but is working hard. It's completely different from Cao Yuan. Cao Yuan can obviously let go, but pretends that she can't let go. At around 7 o'clock, Li Yuan felt sleepy. Xu Yanlin knew what he liked, so she left something just for him. It wasn't until she was sure that Li Yuan was asleep that she got up, wrapped herself in a t-shirt and walked out. Anna Shen had received Xu Yanlin's message a long time ago, otherwise she would have gone to the bedroom to call for someone after 8 o'clock. After all, the two of them had agreed to go shopping today. Anna Shen looked at the t-shirt Xu Yanlin was wearing. There was nothing underneath, and she felt envious in her heart. Although Li Yuan hasn't been here for a long time, he can see his cousin very happy once he comes. It's different now that I have a husband. I don't need makeup, and my skin is so hydrated. She whispered something, fearing that Li Yuan would hear it. The two get along very harmoniously, after all, they grew up together. But Xu Yanlin has been growing, and she stopped when she was 18 years old, and she just barely had C. Everyone drinks add calcium. Some people can surpass the scale, but they have not yet reached the optimal level. Although her figure is unparalleled in the eyes of girls, she can't live by listening to girls. Girls help girls. No. Xu Yanlin chuckled and said, I can't go shopping with my cousin today. I don't agree with you if you want to go. Let's have some breakfast first. If it's lunch, I'll deliver it to you at 3 or 4 o'clock. I'll go out and order it for you then. She didn't want to be a light bulb here, although Li Yuan didn't shy away from anything. But, the one who feels uncomfortable is himself, and has nothing to do with others. Xu Yanlin seemed to have thought of something and asked, do you want me to tell you about my uncle? At the mention of this, Anna Shen's face became a little stiff. Because Shen Tianfu called her and asked her to bring a letter to Li Yuan. But now she has finally settled down and doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. If she offends Li Yuan, she won't even be able to live her current life. She graduated from Zhangzhou University in July and tried to find a job. It's just, no good results. On the one hand, students who graduated from Zhangzhou University are not favored in the industry, and the reason is still Li Yuan. Even if she finds a job, her boss doesn't care about her abilities, but her as a person. Basically, after working for 2 days, you will be hinted, or you will have a direct showdown. Then she stopped going to work the next day. There is absolutely no salary, and I rely entirely on my cousin to support me. No, it's definitely not a good thing if he seeks out Li Yuan. You should do your own thing first. He won't be able to come back anyway, and it has nothing to do with us. Oh fine. Xu Yanlin stopped talking about this topic. Even if she wanted to talk to Li Yuan about it, she wouldn't do it now. After all, when asking for help from others, you must always give them enough benefits. Currently, I am still paying Li Yuan's interest. After breakfast, Anna Shen tidied up the room and left. Xu Yanlin was sitting on the sofa reading a book and waiting. There is a lot of news about Li Yuan on the internet, such as so-and-so's girlfriend. Some people even say that he has brought his girlfriend back to his hometown to meet his parents, and even has a child. The last time I saw Li Yuan was not long after the New Year, half a year has passed now. As she learned more and more about the world, after jumping out of that cage, the world she saw became wider and wider, and the information she received became more and more real. It would be a lie to say that she had never been confused. She must have thought about her future. She still remembers how Li Yuan taught her how to deal with relationships and marriage at the beginning. From her words, she could actually feel that she had a chance to marry Li Yuan. But reality and ideals are never so in sync. Several things happened in succession that directly killed her fantasy. She didn't tell Anna Shen what she was thinking, because she was afraid that if she said it, Anna Shen would laugh at her for being ignorant. I don't know when Li Yuan came out of the bedroom. She came back to her senses and said immediately, "Senior is awake, I will ask my cousin to bring food." Li Yuan sat next to her and said, "Don't worry, I'm not very hungry yet. I haven't been here for so long. Can I chat with you for a while?" The senior said, "I listen, you are so busy at work, you must have some troubles, so just treat me as a tree hole. Although I can't do anything to help the senior can throw all his negative emotions at me. Ah, I'll be happy after throwing it away. Li Yuan smiled and said, can you handle so many? Xu Yanlin nodded, of course you can, I'm good at pretending, and I digest it quickly, so I'm not afraid of more. Ha. Li Yuan reached out and took Xu Yanlin into his arms and said, I do have something to tell you when I come here this time. Xu Yanlin's eyelashes fluttered a few times. Li Yuanzhang said one thing, which means that it is very important. Are you concerned about my gossip lately? After Li Yuan said this, Xu Yanlin was shocked. Then he saw the tablet on the table in front of him, still on the gossip news page. I just hit it accidentally. Li Yuan, well, the gossip is all true. Xu Yanlin was even more panicked. Of course she knew that the gossip was probably true, but she didn't want Li Yuan to say it himself. This matter was put on the table, and she didn't know how to answer it at all. Senior, how about I send a message to my cousin first? It will take some time for her to deliver the food. Xu Yanlin felt that Li Yuan was particularly serious today. Li Yuan said, okay, then you can send the message first. Xu Yanlin picked up her phone and started sending messages to Anna Shen. While posting, he asked, what do you want to eat, senior? My cousin will pack it up directly from the store when the time comes. 1 fish soup, 2 vegetables, plus fried chicken, pork ribs. Xu Yanlin. Li Yuan gave too detailed information. It was so detailed that she didn't know what to talk about next. She just wanted to change the topic from before. Now she could only hand over the dishes Li Yuan requested honestly. Just when she was still thinking about what topic to talk about next, Li Yuan spoke first. Now that the food is ordered, let's continue chatting. Senior, I miss you. Xu Yanlin hugged Li Yuan and rubbed against him. Li Yuan hugged her and continued, I will give you two choices, either I will give you 300 million, and I will not come here from now on. You can fall in love with anyone, as long as you don't mention our affairs. If you want more, I can add some as appropriate. Xu Yanlin shook her head desperately. In fact, there were tears in her eyes. Holding Li Yuan's neck tightly, she didn't want to face this kind of topic. There is no future with me. You will always be secretive. If you want to post openly on WeChat moments, you have no chance. Are you sure you don't want to consider it? I can give you up to 500 million, ensuring that you will have no food or clothing for the rest of your life. Worry. If it's not enough, then wait until 20 years later and ask me for it again, and it will be considered as the mental loss for being by my side this year. Xu Yanlin said with a tearful voice, no, I didn't lose anything. It was my senior who gave me the qualification to live a new life. I owe it to my senior. I think this condition is the easiest for you to accept. You will definitely not be able to accept the other condition. It can be seen from the trivial matter of Xu Yanlin's gossip that she is different from Cao Yuan. Cao Yuan's positioning for herself is very clear. She will also read Li Yuan's gossip, and will even share it with Li Yuan specifically, and then ask if the gossip is true. But Xu Yanlin only dared to watch it in private and didn't even dare to admit it. It shows that these gossips have a great impact on her and she cares about them. Senior, can you wait until I graduate? No. It's still early for Xu Yanlin to graduate, and she will definitely continue to study medicine afterward. Moreover, since he hadn't been here for half a year, the relationship between him and Xu Yanlin was at its lowest, and it was also the most suitable time to say this. The further back you go, the less true the answers you get. Can I listen to the second one first? The second one is that I set up a family fund and give you 50 million shares. From now on, every year's dividends will be transferred to your account on time. Xu Yanlin unconsciously started to tremble slightly. The hug became tighter and tighter, but no words could be said. She could say that she was being taken care of because that would make Li Yuan happy. But when Li Yuan said this condition, it was equivalent to saying, "Do you need a sponsor, father?" The positioning of the two is completely different. She can understand the former as the interest between men and women, and the latter as a pure exchange of interests. Can I not choose? Xu Yanlin just wants to escape now. If you don't choose, I will default to the first option, and the money will be in your card tomorrow. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 274. I don't want it. If the senior doesn't want me anymore, then I can leave. I already owe the senior a lot, and I don't dare ask the senior for anything anymore. She wanted a sweet love, even if Li Yuan didn't have time, even if it didn't work out in the end. Now that Li Yuan proposed this choice, it was like breaking a dream for her. For Li Yuan, if he hadn't seen Xu Yanlin staring at his gossip, he wouldn't have spoken out in such a hurry, and he might have gradually acquiesced in the second option. They continued to live a sweet life without exposing each other. But he saw it and knew that Xu Yanlin had something in mind. If she continued, she might become an enemy in the future. He didn't dare to stay here any longer. No matter how good a person's character is, if he is in a state of not getting what he wants, over time, anything can happen. Simply expose it in advance and leave some room for everyone. You said you were going to be good this morning, why are you disobeying now? I want to be obedient, but can senior, please give me some time? Wait until I graduate from college. Before Xu Yanlin finished speaking, Li Yuan interrupted her and said, then it will be your choice. No. Then the second one. For Xu Yanlin, the second condition is undoubtedly the most difficult to accept. The first one still has some dignity, but the second one is just a mistress. Such people will not end well. They may be beaten by their original spouse in the future without being able to fight back. Just like a stray cat in a community, if the owner is in a good mood, come over and feed it. Once the cat in the owner's home finds it, the beating will be light. The most important thing is that once she accepts it, she will never think about being adopted for the rest of her life. Although he is homeless now, at least he is not labeled. Good. She whispered. From a practical point of view, the first option was better, but she couldn't let go of Li Yuan. I'm really happy to be with Li Yuan. I felt this way from the very beginning. As for Li Yuan's sexual attributes, now she doesn't know whether it's her or her, it seems like she takes the initiative every time she breaks through. Strictly speaking, she slept with Li Yuan. In this life, one always needs someone to rely on, and she doesn't know who she can be happy with. Since it is destined that he will not be happy in the future, if he loses Li Yuan again, his only support will be gone. Li Yuan asked, are you sure? Then as long as you don't make any principled mistakes in the future, you can ask me for any requests you have. Okay. Xu Yanlin knew what a principled error was, and she had a balance in her heart. This road was destined to be bleak, and she had already thought about it before agreeing. The next second, Li Yuan took her hand and said, then go change your clothes and tell Anna Shen not to bring food. Let's go out to eat together. Xu Yanlin was shocked, going out to eat? Li Yuan is now a famous person and will be recognized by people no matter where he is. How dare he go out to eat with him? He is just a third person. If he is photographed, it will have a huge impact on his reputation. Yes, I haven't been with you for so long. Let's go shopping together later and buy you some gifts. Xu Yanlin. She wanted to say something bad. But the opportunity to go shopping with Li Yuan, there was no way she wouldn't be tempted. Okay. She immediately put away her previous emotions and started to change her clothes. Half an hour later, Li Yuan took Xu Yanlin to have dinner together. The place to eat was at a private restaurant, and there were no special guests. The main thing is safety and controllability. In restaurants with a large flow of people, security is not easy to maintain. After all, you have to stay for at least an hour to have a meal, so there is plenty of time for whatever one wants to do. Shopping is easy, because you won't stay in one place, and security only needs to pay close attention to the surroundings. Xu Yanlin has experienced the feeling of being noticed. On campus, she has a high rate of turning heads. But after entering the mall, I discovered what the real return rate is. The moment Li Yuan appeared in the mall, he was recognized. At this time, Li Yuan held her hand. Everyone left their surprised eyes on Li Yuan and their envious eyes on her. Human emotions need to be compared. Otherwise there wouldn't be so many people showing off their wealth online. The cameras around her never stopped, and she already had a premonition that a bunch of photos of her would appear online. And her classmates will know, her roommates will know. When Li Yuan gave her a gift, there were many people watching. What was originally an ordinary gift became extraordinary. She never thought that Li Yuan would be willing to take her to the camera. Is this still 3? If I had known that I could get this kind of treatment, why would I hesitate? Isn't this just normal love? Under the support of others, isn't she the happiest girl in the world? I went shopping from about 6 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. Li Yuan even took her to a night market, and he even took photos with many fans. When a fan asks for a photo, the first thing Li Yuan asks is always, "You don't have a knife on you, do you?" That scene was really hilarious. She knew that Li Yuan rarely went out, especially in public places. But I went out with her today. This is a treatment that no girl has. He took a big risk to go out, so when he asked his fans that question, it was funny and poignant. At around 9 o'clock, the two of them took the car back together. After getting in the car, her nervous state relaxed a little. "Give me a sip of your milk tea," Li Yuan said. Xu Yanlin was stunned for a moment and said a little embarrassedly, "Are you here? Otherwise, there are no outsiders here." Xu Yanlin was a little embarrassed, lowered her head and said and then started to pull down the collar of her t-shirt. Li Yuan quickly held down her hand, and then snatched the milk tea from her other hand. "Xu Yanlin." Li Yuan acted as if nothing was wrong. After all, the driver was still there and he could not discuss such issues with Xu Yanlin. After taking a sip of milk tea, Li Yuan asked, "Is there anything else you need? I'll find someone to bring it to you." "No shortage, he. Then you should pay more attention on campus in the future. Remember to go back to the dormitory after class. Many people know your identity and may have some plans." "Yeah, that's what I usually do in school, and I have a lot of medical courses, so I don't have any extra time to hang out." "That's okay. School starts the day after tomorrow. I will assign you 2 bodyguards. You can communicate with them more, such as where you are going, how long you will stay, or whether there are any strange people around you who ask some strange questions." Xu Yanlin's emotions were quite complicated. She really wanted to ask, could she still be considered a mistress like this? Give him money, give him a house, provide him with bodyguards, and be willing to take him to public places. Isn't this standard for a girlfriend? The car arrived at the garage of the community, and it wasn't until the two of them got on the elevator that she asked, "Senior, are you too kind to me? It's already better than the second choice. Isn't this normal? I'm just too busy, and it's troublesome to go out, otherwise I would have gone out with you a long time ago. When I have more time during the National Day holiday next month, we can go traveling together." "Ah, there's more. What's wrong? I thought this was a perk for signing the contract. Aren't you supposed to give me the benefits of signing the contract?" Xu Yanlin understood immediately. If you are with Li Yuan, you just don't have the chance to get married, but your girlfriend's treatment will definitely not be less. What she lives hiding in a dark corner is all her imagination. Hee, let me think about how to give it. Fortunately, she was still so entangled before. If she had known it was such a good thing, she would have asked Li Yuan to give it to her. Well, the same goes for praying at night. Li Yuan waited until Xu Yanlin fell asleep at around 3 in the morning before leaving. Because he is not sleepy yet. When it comes to serious girlfriends, Xu Yanlin can barely be considered a real girlfriend, because the two of them have really gone through a sweet process. Although it is short, there are a lot of bad things interspersed in the middle. But at least it existed. He currently has none of these around him. Being with Zhou Ranran is like working as an agent. Zhang Yuling is normal, but a bit like an old married couple. Romance and sweetness have nothing to do with the two of them, but more like pursuing soul compatibility. Cao Yuan is a pure transaction, and Chen Ji is more like a friend. The further you go, the fewer such opportunities you get, so today I took a risk and experienced it. Back to Chen Ji was lying on the sofa and fell asleep. He sat in the study and looked at the data for a while, and also watched the news for a while. The internet has indeed hyped up his love affair, and Xu Yanlin's identity is not a secret. They even investigated Xu Yanlin's previous studies at Zhangzhou University. Many people made a lot of money from the concept of love with Song Jiajia last time. Of course, there are also people who entered the game late and lost money. However, this does not prevent the subject matter from being straightforward. It's just that investors can't find corresponding stocks in Xu Yanlin. As a result, many people have set their sights on Zhangzhou University of Technology and Education stocks. Universities are teaching venues, and it is reasonable to extend this to education stocks. This matter is so abstract that Li Yuan issued a statement online. Ordinary friends, there is no need to think too much. Education stocks are so hyped, why not look at internet celebrity stocks or small commodity stocks? After all, in the atmosphere of love, it's normal to buy some gifts, right? Can we sell more things related to couples? If that doesn't work, you can just try to promote a love hotel. He doesn't care about this, he even has such a purpose in the first place. In his opinion, the so-called themes and concepts of A-shares are not as reliable as his love-themed concepts. At least my subject matter has been screened. Even if I am losing money now, as long as I can hold on to it, it will definitely increase in the future. Unknowingly, Chen Ji brought him a cup of tea. Only then did he realize that it was already 4:30 in the morning. Usually Chen Ji wakes up at this time and prepares food for him. He gets here at 4:50 in summertime and around 5:50 in wintertime. Chen Ji's biological clock is pretty normal, except when she is busy occasionally, she will stay up late with him. Sister Chen, do you want to sleep for a while? I'm not hungry yet. It seems that falling in love can indeed make people lose weight. Haha, Sister Chen, have you seen the gossip on the internet? Is this also gossip? The evidence is all in your face. Then it's not illegal for me to fall in love, right? Li Yuan was originally sitting on the chair, while Chen Ji was opposite the desk. When he saw Chen Ji bending down, he thought she was going to pick something up. Unexpectedly, she went directly under the desk. It's not illegal, but it's against the rules. You've made us, older women, sad. We must share some of your sweetness with us. Li Yuan looked at a head sticking out from under the desk, especially from the top-down perspective. The scenery he saw was completely different from usual. Sister Chen has also changed. You're already an old woman. If you don't change, you won't be able to compete with a bunch of little girls for food. After all, there's only so much food and only one cook. Must. Well, I just woke up and I'm hungry. Chen Ji didn't lie. She didn't feel much at all on weekdays, but after waking up, her resistance would be much weaker. She ate Li Yuan's melons all day yesterday, but now she doesn't want to eat melons anymore and wants to eat something else. Chen Ji knows how to maintain health. Otherwise, why are many stores called health centers? To say who has the greatest impact on Li Yuan's love affair, there is no doubt that it is Anna Shen. She couldn't believe it after seeing the news on the internet. Li Yuan actually brought Xu Yanlin to the stage. There is no doubt that this requires great courage, great trust, and deep emotion. Without one thing, such a situation would be impossible. She knew that there were many girls around Li Yuan, and she also knew that with Li Yuan's current status, almost no one would refuse. But Li Yuan's willingness to give Xu Yanlin such an opportunity far exceeded her expectations. This meant that she didn't have to look for a job. She wouldn't be hungry if Xu Yanlin had something to eat. She was the one who was most afraid of Xu Yanlin falling out of favor. Since Li Yuan hadn't come over for half a year, she was forced to go to work. Even though she knew there would be no good results, she went there several times. At 12 o'clock at noon, Xu Yanlin woke up and ran outside without even putting on her clothes. I didn't see Li Yuan, so I was a little disappointed. Anna Shen said, he left at around 3 in the morning, but before he left, he told me to prepare something for the trip next month. Really? He hasn't forgotten. Xu Yanlin breathed a sigh of relief. It really wasn't the benefits of signing a contract, but it was already there. Well, he said he asked you to choose a place that is quiet and with fewer people. If there are too many people, it will be troublesome to deal with it. Then where does my cousin think we should go? Actually, I am not that strict about the location. I am very happy to be able to enjoy life with him. Anna Shen thought for a while and said, I know a place that is absolutely private and has a beautiful view. But in the past, I could rely on connections to find friends to get the keys, but now I may have to rely on money. Anna Shen has almost no connections to draw on now. After all, connections have always been based on strength. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 275. After the market opened on Monday, the education sector surged. For the market, there is never a shortage of funds, it just lacks an opportunity for funds to enter the market. Li Yuan's concept stocks are not really great, but they are popular enough that everyone is willing to play. So it appeared. Even Song's shares rose by 3 points. Leftover rice can also be eaten stir-fried. Xu Yanlin became a popular figure in school. With the title of Li Yuan's girlfriend, she was very dazzling in school, college, major, and even in class and dormitory. Someone also found out that Li Yuan donated 100 million to Zhangzhou Institute of Technology, which linked Xu Yanlin's transfer to another school. Xu Yanlin even received invitations from several universities, asking if she would like to transfer to their school. You can choose any major, even a topic, and you can get all kinds of benefits. Who doesn't want to have something to do with Li Yuan, the richest man? What the education sector lacks most is money. Although a lot of money is invested every year, there is not enough money for the monks, and some good schools can only get very little money throughout the year. Time moves forward little by little. In mid-September, Oriental Lithium Energy went on the market. This company, with a net profit of nearly 1 billion a year, went public to raise 6 billion, soared 44% on the opening day, and its market value reached 41.3 billion. After Li Yuan saw this news, he knew that it must be Wen Yuxian who took the lead. Because he had the impression that Oriental Lithium would not be listed on the market for 2 years, so he missed the market perfectly, and ended up becoming a scapegoat in the falling market. However, there were no major incidents in Oriental Lithium Energy. For example, they did not provide securities dealers with chips, so they naturally did not have the securities lending function, so they would not be hacked by others after being listed. Besides, with Wen Yuxian here, there won't be any big problems. He had never heard of Wen Yuxian in his previous life, so he most likely failed in the A-share market. In fact, he felt that Wen Yuxian was still very strong, but there was a slight mismatch between his ability and his ideas, and his control over large funds was not particularly strong. Li Yuan himself did not dare to say that he could truly control large amounts of money. He never slacked off for a second in the trading process. Over the past year or so, he has been slowly adapting to the rhythm of big money and has been learning. Next, he will inevitably face hundreds of billions of funds and hundreds of stocks. It's hard to make a profit. Just like some things, the bigger they are, the harder it is to build. Some things are harder the smaller they are. When trading large amounts of money, you need to do both to the extreme to make money. To make big money work, you also need to grasp the details of the process. His chat record with Wen Yuxian was fixed on his birthday. Putting aside the birthday, there was no contact for several months. The listing of Oriental Lithium Energy is a signal that Wen Yuxian's capital will definitely appear in October. He doesn't have any friends in the financial market yet. It's just that he hasn't been in the A-shares during this period, and all his enemies have gone dormant. For example, Shangyuan Capital, which had some grievances last year, and some private equity firms in Zhangzhou. There is also Lao Wang, who made his first pot of gold through review and later formed a private equity team. They are all waiting for me to enter the venue, and then hum myself down openly. It's a pity that they have no idea how much power Li Yuan has accumulated. They are no longer qualified to compete with Li Yuan. Qingtian Capital just looks weak. At the end of September, the IPO of Qingtian Capital was approved, and at the same time, the stock rights issue plan for basic mining was also released. Allotment of shares will be carried out at a ratio of 2:1 to the fund's holdings. If 1 million Qingtian mixed small and medium cap positions are held, stocks worth $500,000 will be allocated. This data has been collected long ago, and subsequent positions are not included. They are only calculated for the week before the last announcement was issued. Therefore, the capital of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps did not increase much in the future, and the scale is still more than 8 billion. Qingtian Capital will be listed on the main board on November 13, with an opening price of 1.5 yuan. The total market value is 150 billion, which means that the total share capital of Qingtian Capital has reached 100 billion shares. This is a very scary number, and it was decided by Li Yuan himself. Tang Jianjun did not agree at first, because only the 4 major banks and petroleum corporation have a share capital of more than 100 billion shares. Even Bo, which is known as a concentration camp for retail investors, only has more than 30 billion shares. Li Yuan's request made it clear that big funds should not participate. Because low-price stocks mean that there are many retail investors who can participate, and you can buy one lot for 150 yuan, which means there is no threshold. Retail investors have a lot of votes, and other funds are not very willing to deal with it, and they don't even think about any good market trends on weekdays. But compared to Li Yuan's strength, this small request was really nothing to Tang Jianjun, and he finally agreed. In fact, in Tang Jianjun's view, Li Yuan could set a high price. Like $200. In the future, with the growth of Qingtian Capital, the stock price will rise to 2,000, 20,000. Walk the old path of the Western stock god. One share of Berkshire's shares costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Only in this way can the name of the stock god be firmly established. Tang Jianjun really didn't know what Li Yuan was thinking. When the price of 1.5 yuan was announced, Li Yuan's fans stopped laughing, while Li Yuan's anti-fans laughed. $1.50? Are you kidding? With just a few fluctuations, wouldn't it drop to less than $1? As we all know, when a stock is ST listed and its stock price falls below $1, it will be forcibly delisted. Isn't it? Is this the stock god of our country? He really doesn't take his own face seriously at all. To be honest, I feel a little embarrassed. It's clear that I want to cash out and leave. I set such a low price just to facilitate speculation. Why is Qingtian Capital worth 150 billion? Is it just based on the profit they made last year? No one else has made money from Qingtian Group. That's a lot of change. Li Yuan is transferring wealth. Obviously the profits belong to Qingtian Capital, but he just set up Qingtian Group, took away most of the profits, and even listed a shell company. Hasn't Qingtian Capital not been in operation for more than 3 years? How did it get listed? Didn't it care about the process? It's bad. Li Yuan is related and has a strong background. Didn't you say that Li Yuan comes from an ordinary family? They're all lies to you novices. How can anyone with ordinary background in the world be able to do this? Now it's clear that he will join hands with the masters to harvest retail investors. Look at the equity structure of Qingtian Capital. Li Yuan doesn't even have 45 in his hand. It's even less than %, it's a complete lie. Li Yuan really didn't have many shares in his hands. He gave 20% to Tang Jianjun, 10% from the IPO, 5% from the allotment to Jimin, and 10% from Lianhua Trust. After all, the total amount of Qingtian Group's shares, that means holding 55%. However, Li Yuanming only holds 80% of the shares of Qingtian Group, which means that he only holds 44% of the shares of Qingtian Capital. With the lifting of the ban, Li Yuan will further reduce his shareholding ratio, because Qingtian Capital is originally a means for him to distribute wealth. If he takes so many shares, who will they be distributed to? Meng Jiangguo didn't quite understand why Li Yuan did this, but he just came to the company and didn't want to express any opinions yet. After all, Qingtian Capital collapsed in his hands and rose in Li Yuan's hands. This is Li Yuan's ability. If he doesn't understand any decision he makes, it means he is not at Li Yuan's level. Today he was called to the company by Li Yuan. Li Yuan said, "Mr. Meng, please draw up a contract. I will personally take out 5% of Qingtian Capital's stock dividend rights, a total of 5 billion shares, and subscribe from within the company. 1 share per share. After subscription, annual dividends will be credited into the account. The individual subscription limit for employees before March this year is 1 million shares. The individual subscription limit for employees who joined after March this year is 300,000 shares. The upper limit for management is 5 million shares. Share." Meng Jiangguo's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. "Hey guys, internal subscription?" He asked tentatively, "Boss, is it a compulsory allocation?" Voluntary subscription is just this opportunity. If you want to subscribe again, it will take 5 years. By the way, after you leave your job, you can still hold it for up to 3 years, and the company will repurchase it at the original price. Okay, I'll make arrangements right now. After Meng Jiangguo left the office, he immediately contacted Yu. This matter was still a little too unfamiliar to him. Generally speaking, internal subscription within a company is not a good thing. Except for the birch kind, of course. The company is not listed on the market, but gives employees a certain quota based on their years of service and level. They cost 10 yuan per share, and ordinary employees can only buy up to 10,000 shares when their seniority expires, which is 100,000 yuan. On average, about 20,000 yuan can be received every year. When you no longer want it, you can sell it to the company at the original price, which is equivalent to depositing a fixed term with high interest. But Li Yuan is completely different this time. The price is lower than the stock price, and the standard is based on stock dividends. The amount of dividends paid by the stock will be the amount of dividends paid by the shares subscribed. And it didn't specifically mention the buyback, but only said it would automatically buy back 3 years after leaving the company. If you want to sell those who have not resigned, will the company not want them? Soon, he got on the phone with Yu. Mr. Yu, the boss told me something, and I don't know what to do with it. How to say? It's like this. The boss has taken out 5% of the stock dividend rights and plans to transfer it to the company's employees, allowing them to subscribe at a price of 1 yuan per share. Huh? Forced. The boss said it's not mandatory. Then what else is there to say? Just do as you are told. By the way, I also have a share, right? Yes, the boss has decided that the management's share will not exceed 5 million. Oh, then fill up my share. I'll go back and sell the house right away. What? Mr. Yu, are you too anxious? Haha, how can we not be anxious about the boss handing out benefits? What if all the shares are robbed? Meng Jiangguo felt very complicated. Can this also be snatched up? It seems a bit unreliable no matter what. Most of the company's employees are in finance and are very familiar with this routine. Many companies allow internal employees to subscribe for stocks. For example, the most famous company, Dongfang Yaheng, allowed its employees to subscribe for 1.5 billion internally some time ago. The results of it? Since the subscription, the stock price has been falling. Li Yuan's promise of dividends was indeed true, but how much dividends could Qingtian Capital pay? Even though the holding cost is much lower than that of stocks, it is still equivalent to a market value of 100 billion. Because Qingtian Capital has the support of management fees from DAI funds, it can earn several billions a year. If this support is gone, it will be difficult for the company to earn 1 billion a year. If you take it all out and distribute it as dividends, it will only be a penny. The interest on deposits in the bank is more than that. If Qingtian Group comes forward and wants to pay dividends, that's okay. Because it is easy for Qingtian Group to earn 20 to 30 billion a year. Li Yuan only needs to liquidate DAI funds twice. One time is a profit of 167 billion, 2 times is more than 30 billion. In this process, Qingtian Capital only earned more than 1 billion in management fees. He is very sad. As the vice president of the company, Yu no longer cares about things here. Sooner or later he will become a positive person. So in this matter, whether he likes it or not, he has to subscribe to a part as an example. Think about it carefully, you have only earned a month's salary, and you have to spend 5 million? Pay to work? If the company can sustain for 3 years, he can earn the 5 million with his salary. After all, his annual salary of more than 2 million yuan needs to be paid in taxes, so he only gets 16.7 million yuan. He found Guo Meng again. Manager Guo, the boss has provided an employee benefit. You can subscribe for the dividend rights of one stock at the price of 1 yuan. The management can subscribe for up to 5 million shares. Take a look. When Guo Meng heard this, he frowned and thought for a while. In Meng Jiangguo's view, Guo Meng must be more sensitive. After all, she is fighting on the front line of finance and has to operate every day. Even she has to think about it, which shows that this matter is really unreliable. If it was really a good thing, Guo Meng would have agreed long ago. Did you say the deadline? When will you pay? Guo Meng asked. This is not the case, but it should be before the company goes public. There is still more than a month. Well, that's okay, I'll take all 5 million shares. What? Well, I don't have that much money now, so I need some time to prepare. Guo Meng's family is not rich, but they still have a house. Adding her salary last year, the 1 million grievance award, and this year's salary, if you add in her parents' house, she can barely make up 5 million. Her salary is not particularly high, so the tax rate is not too high. She doesn't spend much money on weekdays, and she already has more than 2 million in her hand. Meng Jiangguo didn't expect Guo Meng to be so decisive and forceful even if he didn't have any money. He asked with a smile, "Manager Guo, why are you and Mr. Yu so enthusiastic about this matter? On the surface, internal subscription is not good news, right?" Guo Meng said, "Mr. Li is giving money to everyone. How can this be seen?" Meng Jiangguo didn't expect that Guo Meng and Yu said the same thing. Guo Meng smiled and said, "I guessed it. Meng Jiangguo. This damn atmosphere costs millions, guess what?" Guo Meng and Yu worshipped Li Yuan to the core. No matter what Li Yuan did, they wouldn't think too much about it and just followed him. But myself. I hope Qingtian Capital can persist for a few more years and at least earn back the 5 million through salary. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 276. Li Yuan originally didn't care much about internal subscriptions. I don't know who passed it on, but I found it online. He used his own money to distribute it to his employees. This was an act that no one could fault. However, the internet started to say that Qingtian Capital was going to be doomed, which then led to a large number of abandoned shares in the allotment quota. Li Yuan directly waved his hand and allocated shares 1:1. There was a lot left over from the previous 2:1 allotment. After all, the scale was only over 8 billion, and the allotment amounted to 7.5 billion. 2:1 itself is a conservative number. He thought that no one would refuse such a good thing. As a result, the results came out in the past 2 days. 200 million funds were unclaimed, and more than 600 million funds were abandoned directly. In this case, Li Yuan can rest assured about the 1:1 allotment of shares. He didn't know what to say to those who gave up their shares. Didn't they see that the major shareholders of Qingtian Capital had a China Securities Regulatory Commission? Since it is so easy to be led by others, why can you hold fund shares in a falling market? He should have left the scene a long time ago. This incident can be regarded as a purification of Li Yuan's iron fans, and it can also be regarded as the last purification. If the funds are allocated on a one-to-one basis, the money in 13 Taebao's hands is probably not enough, and the money in Zhou Ranran's hands is also a bit insufficient. It's easy to talk to 13 Taebao, just go directly to Qingtian Group's public account, and give them a part of the drink deposit. But for Zhou Ranran, can only be taken from private accounts. Previously, Zhou Ranran bought 800 million yuan of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, leaving about 400 million yuan in hand to match stocks. There is now a shortfall of 400 million. He called Zhou Ranran, "Sister Ran, I will transfer 400 million to you, and you will use it to match those stocks, but you will have to pay me back the money at that time." Zhou Ranran said, "The money is all yours, you can take it all away at any time. Anyway, your parents give me pocket money every day. I won't starve to death if I don't work." Li Yuan. One thing comes to another. I'll transfer it to you first. This Zhou Ranran can't always tell whose money belongs to whose. That is to say, she is not short of money. If it were left to others, once financial problems arise, she will definitely be deceived. But I have made some progress now. I know how to open an account and how to buy stocks. Learning is not about what you learn, but the process of using your brain. Young people can learn opera, and old people can learn to play games. Li Yuan set the price of Qingtian Capital so low, essentially because he wanted more people to participate in the process and let more people enjoy the dividends brought by capital. Each person invests more than 100,000 yuan and receives 20,000 to 30,000 yuan or 30,000 to 50,000 yuan in interest a year, which is also a kind of guarantee for life. Some people would dislike the $1.50 of Qingtian capital. This incident was just an episode for Li Yuan, but he was most worried about another thing. That guy Chen Qi hasn't asked him for money yet. This means that he has been out for 7 or 8 months and has not accomplished anything. This result is also expected. It's pretty good that Chen Qi is still alive. Even if he went there personally, he might not be able to do well in the hell difficulty at the beginning. He didn't want to intervene until the last moment. Interfering would mean that Chen Qi would only have to work hard in this matter and would not get much commission. He planned to wait another month to try, which could be regarded as giving Chen Qi a deadline. On October 1st, Li Yuan came to Xu Yanlin. Xu Yanlin had already told him the location of this trip via WeChat before, but it made no sense to him at all. A mountaintop villa, just over 30 kilometers away from Zhangzhou. He had seen photos of the villa on the top of the mountain. The whole environment was very comfortable and modern. Through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows in the bedroom, it felt like being in the clouds in the morning, surrounded by clouds and mist. A place like that is very suitable for relaxing, especially in a very private place where you can have fun with your girlfriend. When Li Yuan came over, Xu Yanlin had already packed her suitcase. There are also some fruits prepared. After all, it is troublesome to live in the mountains and come down. If you only stay for 2 days, it is better to bring some yourself. Anna Shen also went with her this time, working part-time as a nanny and cook. Her cooking skills are actually not bad, after all, she has been professionally trained. Li Yuan held one of Xu Yanlin's hands, and she held some fruit in the other hand. Anna Shen was carrying a suitcase in one hand and a large bag of fruit in the other. After getting in the car, Li Yuan hugged Xu Yanlin's shoulders and began to doze off. After all, he came here just after finishing the transaction, and he would have to catch up on his sleep when he got there. When the car arrived at the door of the villa on the mountain, no one got out of the car. Anna Shen handed the key to the people following her. After they checked it thoroughly, Li Yuan and the others moved in. The main reason is that they are afraid that there is surveillance inside the room, or there are other passages, and they will not have time to set up defenses. When he arrived at the master bedroom, Li Yuan said, "I'll take a bath and rest for a while. Wake me up during lunch and play with you nearby in the afternoon." "Yeah, senior, go and have a rest quickly." Strictly speaking, this time it was more like Xu Yanlin and Shen Anna going out to play and picking up Li Yuan. But the feeling of traveling has not diminished, and those 10 hours every afternoon are equally precious. While Li Yuan was resting, they went to the suburban supermarket down the mountain to buy some ingredients. At this time, several people in Zhangzhou were staring at their mobile phone screens. Suddenly, someone said, "The camera was discovered? Didn't you say it was well hidden?" They are considered the second generation of Zhangzhou, and they were in the same circle as Anna Shen at the beginning. Either their parents are worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions, or their parents have a small amount of power. They are one level behind Ho Wenbin and others, and have never been able to get into higher level circles. Anna Shen is already considered the leader of their circle. But that was Anna Shen from before. Anna Shen now is not worthy of attending their party. Anna Shen came to them a few days ago and said that she wanted to rent someone's villa for 2 days and gave her 50,000 yuan. They agreed, but placed several cameras in the villa. The purpose, it must be to see who Anna Shen is ghosting with. You can definitely capture sexy scenes in that kind of private location. Even though Anna Shen now has no background, no strength, and is not qualified to play with them. But no one denies that Anna Shen's figure and appearance are still the best. There are many people in the circle who secretly want to get Anna Shen. In the past, it was useless for them to be greedy, but now they can all madly negotiate terms with Anna Shen in private. "Will you give me 100,000? What about 500,000? What about 1 million?" As a result, What they found hard to accept was that Anna Shen was already acting like this, but she still pretended to be high-minded and didn't give them a chance at all. Right now, they just want to see what Anna Shen is doing, and at the same time collect some clues about Anna Shen. The camera was discovered. Some people didn't take it seriously, while others had serious expressions. Who are they? They checked the cameras before moving in? And they were discovered even though they were hidden so well. It shows that they are professionals. Who can be there? If Anna Shen can hold her on her lap, she won't give us money honestly. Tell the big boss behind her that we dare to ask her for money. But don't forget that her cousin is Li Yuan's girlfriend. Then she offended Li Yuan to death. Now it's her cousin who rewards her with a bite of food, not Li Yuan. Li Yuan has so many girlfriends, how long can her cousin last? Is it possible that it's Li Yuan this time? It's possible that Li Yuan can afford professional bodyguards. It's normal for him to find a spy. But what does it have to do with us? No matter how awesome Li Yuan is, can he take care of us? Indeed, Li Yuan is the existence they look up to, but as long as they don't ask Li Yuan to do anything, Li Yuan can't do anything to them no matter how much money he has. Their family is somewhat powerful in Zhangzhou. However, just when they were just a little regretful that they could not get hold of Anna Shen this time, and completely forgot about everything else, someone was already taking action. Tang Jianjun was the first to know about this. The bodyguards found the items without even telling Li Yuan. Mainly because he was afraid of affecting Li Yuan's mood. However, the matter was serious, so they reported it to Tang Jianjun immediately. For Tang Jianjun, Li Yuan was more important than his own life, otherwise he would not listen to Li Yuan and provide bodyguards for his little girlfriend. Xu Yanlin's identity is really not worthy of using the bodyguard resources on campus. It is quite difficult to arrange bodyguards on campus. You must have a reasonable identity. You can't drive behind her on campus every day, or directly interfere with Xu Yanlin's life. Last year, Li Yuan earned them nearly $30 billion, and so far this year, it has been $20 billion. By the time this phase is liquidated, it will most likely be over $25 billion. It brings them hundreds of billions of profits a year, not counting the taxes paid by Li Yuan himself. There are very few in the country that have reached this level of effectiveness. Moreover, Li Yuan was able to put the extra $50 billion he earned this year into his own pocket without any help from the government. To put it bluntly, these $50 to $60 billion were given to them by Li Yuan. Li Yuan has an account behind him and does not lack a small amount of dollars. He wants to make money in foreign markets, which is as easy as drinking water. You won't even be noticed. It would be understandable if the tax department failed to satisfy Li Yuan last time. After all, that incident itself was not a principled error. This time, things have hit the bottom line. They didn't know if there were other probes in the entire villa that had not been discovered, so they had to find all the people behind them. As a result, a group of young people who were eating and drinking were blocked in the box. No matter who they called my father, they were all taken to the interrogation room without hesitation. After Li Yuan woke up and saw the message from Tang Jianjun, he learned about this. But he was in no mood to care about this now. He would eat first and then have fun with Xu Yanlin. Walking further down the villa, you can enter the mountain forest. Although the sun in September is very poisonous, it is completely blocked by the leaves. With a certain height of the terrain, the ventilation is relatively smooth, and it is quite cool inside the forest. Accompanying Xu Yanlin, we discovered new species, found a small stream to soak our feet, and then sat on the cushions we brought with us to share snacks. The air outside is always better than the air inside. It will also make people more energetic. This place was far away from the main road, and Anna Shen was guarding the back, so the two of them gradually became bolder. Xu Yanlin is a walking hormone, no one can resist being with her. Inside her t-shirt, Li Yuan's hands will always be the biggest home. If emotions cannot be sublimated, then there is no point in talking about feelings. Anna Shen turned her head, clasped her hands on her chest, and looked at the path behind her. The chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers in the afternoon was a kind of torture to her. Chirping, chirping, reaching into the depths of a person's soul. Even though they were 30 or 40 meters apart, she had no place to rest. She envied Xu Yanlin very much. Her current destination was quite good. Otherwise, with Shen Tianfu's cruel heart, even if nothing happened to Shen Tianfu, the two of them would be abandoned in the future and there would be no good results. Who knew that Shen Tianfu had a son behind him? After thinking about it carefully, she also understood a lot of things. How could her father, a man who would do anything for his own benefit, let his daughter inherit the family business? He is so old-fashioned that he will never give up without a son. Having only one daughter in name is nothing more than raising his own worth. If she had a younger brother, then her worth would be very low, and she would not be able to achieve the status of a leader in a lower-level circle. Shen Tianfu planned everything to death. Anyway, his son would inherit his family business sooner or later. It was best not to show up at this time, so as not to be targeted by the enemy, and he could advance or retreat. He is really not as good as Li Yuan. Any woman who stays with her is a pure tool, a reproductive machine. And Li Yuan will at least give him a basic sense of happiness. Li Yuan bears the title of scumbag himself, and he will not let the people around him remain aggrieved. The boundary between good guys and bad guys is no longer so clear for someone of Li Yuan's status. No one would regard him as a bad guy except in the eyes of a moral bitch. With the public, he brings hundreds of thousands of Christians to make money, and may be helping the country make money behind the scenes. In private, no one around him hates him. At around 4 o'clock, the three of them returned to the villa. After briefly tidying up, Li Yuan continued to chat with Xu Yanlin on the observation deck on the second floor of the villa. Anna Shen was busy cooking. She could continue to play the role of nanny as long as Li Yuan was around. She could even go over and help Li Yuan hold his back whenever he needed it. But Li Yuan is still young now. After dinner, it was time for the young couple to get tired of eating. She occasionally passed by the door and could hear the sounds inside. She still has to wash today's clothes and think about what to cook tomorrow. She was busy until very late, and she had almost prepared all the things that needed to be prepared. It was already 11 o'clock at night, and she returned to her room. Take a shower, sleep, and tomorrow is another day as a photographer. But just as I was about to lie down after taking a shower, my phone rang. End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 277. Senior Sir. Xu Yanlin is babbling. In fact, she just fell asleep not long ago, most likely she was too tired. Li Yuan is really obsessed with her figure. Even after entering the sage time, looking at her for a while still feels like a pleasure. Although he was a little tired, he was still far from going to sleep. After all, his biological clock had not yet arrived. Even if I am a little tired, I still can't fall asleep until 4 in the morning. He adjusted the temperature of the room and then covered Xu Yanlin with a thin quilt. Really unable to sleep, I came to the living room. Without seeing Anna Shen, he boiled some water and made a cup of tea. In the past 2 days, he was ready to put down work completely. He didn't think about anything in his mind. He would wait until he got back to talk about everything. The feeling of letting go of work is the most refreshing. It has been a long time since he felt so relaxed. Even when Zhang Yuling gave birth to a child, he had to work, read the market every day, and formulate some next strategies. He doesn't know how long he can hold on, he might suddenly collapse. Many things have deviated from what was expected. For example, Chen Qi is a bargaining chip that he values more, and as a result, there is still no positive feedback. For example, the fourth phase of KDI is only $7 billion in scale so far, and it will take at least another half month. Compared with the previous periods, this one was the most tiring, and he wanted to give up several times. But once you give up, you won't be able to do it this year. It's a bit unreasonable to do it for one issue. He didn't want to give an explanation to anyone, but he felt sorry for himself. 2 issues per year are the most basic, and the minimum profit must be more than $20 billion, otherwise it will not be worthy of his name. If you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. It is your choice. It's like a writer of novels. As long as there are too many unique books, he will form a habit. If there is any problem, he will immediately retreat and stop writing. The same is true in life. If you give up too much, even if the opportunity does appear in front of you, you will not be able to grasp it. If he gave up, it would be equivalent to giving up the energy to keep pushing forward. In the game of funds, it all depends on who has the stronger endurance, who is more calm in the face of danger, and who can stay awake even when the fight makes the brain confused. Otherwise, even if Li Yuan develops his own game thinking through the collision of the past and the future, he will fail sooner or later. The further back he gets, the less he allows for failure. Just as I took a sip of tea, a voice floated over. I beg you to let me go, okay? I don't owe you anything anymore. I'll give back everything you gave me. I also took the blame for you and was stared at for several months. Now I don't have anything. No, what else do you want me to do? If you leave everything to your son, what does it have to do with my daughter? You're telling me now how much it will cost to train me? In that case, let's make it clear, how much do you want? Li Yuan is not here, and he will have nothing to do with you. Just give up on this. Now that we've come to this point, you should calculate the account carefully and include the money I spent on every meal at your house. If I can't give it to you, let Linlin give it to you. Don't bother me from now on. Anna Shen didn't expect that Shen Tianfu would be so outrageous. Is this still my biological father? It's worse than what I picked up. How much did you spend? 10 million? Definitely not. After all, she was trained to be a socialite, not a noble lady. Besides that car, there are tens of thousands of pocket money every month, plus hundreds of thousands of luxury goods every year. What else is there? Moreover, she only took some training classes before high school to learn some vocal and dance skills, which totaled less than 1 million. In 4 years of college, I only spent 1 or 2 million at most. Anyway, the car has been repossessed. Except for the clothes she wore and a few pieces of jewelry she wore, she could almost be said to have left the house clean. Shen Tianfu contacted her a few days ago and asked her to find Li Yuan and connect the two of them. To offend her current boss for a father who abandoned her? Shen Tianfu himself had a chance to escape, but he didn't have time to take her with him. Whenever Shen Tianfu takes her with him when he runs away, even if it reminds her, she will at least reminisce about the old relationship. The results of it? She had no idea that her father had run away. She stayed in the small apartment in embarrassment for 2 months. Those 2 months were simply a dark time in her life. The huge gap and the pain of being abandoned almost made her die. When she faced Li Yuan now, she would only lower her head, fearing that Li Yuan would think she was dissatisfied. In fact, she had already given up all her attitude and just wanted to live well now. She has even begun to learn about parenting now, thinking that if Xu Yanlin has children in the future, she will be able to come in handy. This is her most important life plan at the moment. He hung up the phone in anger, and the previous sleepiness had completely disappeared. Shen Tianfu didn't want her to have an easy time at all, he wanted her to lose even her last bit of dignity. What would be the consequences if Li Yuan was approached about this kind of thing? Although Xu Yanlin said she could help, Does she have the initiative? He is her cousin, and she treats him well, so he can remember this sentiment. But she couldn't let Xu Yanlin take such a big risk. What if Li Yuan is angered? Not only will Xu Yanlin suffer, but she will also suffer. Can she risk the future of two people for Shen Tianfu? Especially now, Xu Yanlin and Li Yuan are in a sweet period, and they have unlimited possibilities in the future. To put it bluntly, Shen Tianfu is unworthy. She would rather borrow millions from Xu Yanlin and pay back all the money she spent since childhood than let Xu Yanlin waste her affection in front of Li Yuan. When she first talked to Shen Tianfu on the phone, she could still speak cheerfully, but later she was just questioning and yelling. She put on her slippers, opened the door and walked out. I originally wanted to pour some water, but then I saw Li Yuan sitting on the sofa in the living room. The place where she lives is similar to the nanny's room. She can come out to do errands anytime and anywhere, so it is not far from the living room. Seeing that Li Yuan was not in the room, she hurried back to the room and changed her clothes. I was wearing pajamas before. After changing into a short-sleeved linen shirt, she walked out, half knelt down next to Li Yuan, and poured tea for Li Yuan. Then she said, "Do you need me to get some midnight snacks?" Li Yuan nodded, "Yes." "Okay, maybe half an hour. I can wait." Anna Shen quickly went to the kitchen to get busy. She had reserved a portion of the late-night snack in advance, and even had more than one portion. But it seems that Xu Yanlin can't get up. I guess she fell asleep with happiness. After working in the kitchen for a few minutes, she suddenly heard Li Yuan say, "Your phone is ringing, let me answer it for you." She was stunned for a moment, and when she came to her senses, she hurriedly ran out and said, "No." At this time, Li Yuan had just stood up, and a very weak ringing sound came from her room. The reason was that she forgot to close the door when she went out. Her cell phone ringtone was originally set to a very low volume, and most of it was even muted to avoid disturbing Li Yuan. I just adjusted it when I was about to go to sleep, in order to set the alarm clock for tomorrow morning. She hurried to the bedroom, hung up the phone, and set her phone to silent again. Li Yuan walked to the door, and Anna Shen immediately lowered her head and turned sideways to leave. Li Yuan said, "Your mobile phone screen is on again." Anna Shen looked back and saw that it was indeed. "No. It's okay, it's just a harassing phone call." Li Yuan smiled and said, "Isn't it from an accomplice?" Anna Shen. Li Yuan continued, "You booked this villa. A large number of probes were found in the villa. You don't know, right?" Anna Shen's expression suddenly changed. She just came over to open the door and check the room, which was done by Li Yuan's bodyguards. Besides, what was her purpose of pretending to be a probe? Seeing Li Yuan and Xu Yanlin together? Haven't you seen enough? The two of them didn't shy away from her at all. Want to use it as a handle? With Li Yuan's current status, do you think his life is too good? Looking for some excitement for yourself? Besides, what's the point of having sex between a man and a woman? Li Yuan doesn't care if others say he's a scumbag, but will he care if others say he's a tough guy? She shook her head desperately and said, "No, I don't know. I didn't do this." Her head was lowered, and her hands even had nowhere to rest. Li Yuan said reluctantly, "Then why did you choose this room? Why is it only in our master bedroom and not in your room?" She couldn't explain it clearly, because in the eyes of people like Li Yuan, only one result was needed. She had no evidence to prove that it had nothing to do with her, so it was impossible for her to go and question those people. Will those people say it? Maybe I'll just pass the blame to her. Once the seeds of doubt are planted, no one cares how many bowls of noodles you have eaten. This matter has nothing to do with Linlin. She whispered. Li Yuan, of course I know it has nothing to do with her. If she wants to record the video as a souvenir, she doesn't need to ask anyone else to take action. She can just come to me directly. Li Yuan, for Linlin's sake, I won't embarrass you. After tomorrow, you can pack your things and leave. Don't let me speak. I. Anna Shen felt that she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Finally, he hummed silently. Li Yuan urged, why don't you answer the call from your accomplice quickly? That is not. With such a long distance, you know he's not your accomplice. Your attitude may implicate Linlin, did you know? After Li Yuan finished speaking, he stepped over, took the phone, and brought it to Anna Shen. Answer it. Turn on the voiceover and let me listen to it, to hear what you want to do with my video. This. Take it. Otherwise, you two can get out together tomorrow. Li Yuan got angry. Anna Shen trembled all over. He took the phone with trembling hands. The number belongs to Shen Tianfu. She answered the call silently, but did not turn on the voiceover. A weak voice came from inside, and Li Yuan said directly, why don't you turn on the external sound? What's wrong with testing my hearing? After saying that, he grabbed the phone and clicked on speakerphone. Li Yuan? Are you Li Yuan? No, 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 Mr. Li. I am Shen Tianfu, can we say a few words? Li Yuan smiled and said, it turns out to be Mr. Shen. Hearing Mr. Shen's voice makes me feel friendly. How are you lately? After Shen Tianfu confirmed that it was Li Yuan, he became excited. I can finally talk to Mr. Li. Mr. Li, I have a big business to discuss with you. But I'm on vacation recently and don't want to talk about business. How about we talk some other time? No, 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 Mr. Li must be very interested in this business, otherwise you wouldn't send someone back. Send someone. Mr. Li, I'm in South America. When Li Yuan heard this, he took the phone from Anna Shen's hand. Turning off the hands-free button, he said to Anna Shen, you go to the kitchen and watch, I will use your room. Anna Shen said, this matter has nothing to do with Linlin. I know, go and do your business. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he walked in and closed the door. Li Yuan put the phone to his ear and said with a smile, how is Mr. Shen's life in South America? The climate there is good. There's nothing good or bad about it. Wherever you have money, life will be prosperous. Wherever you don't have money, it's not a good life. Mr. Li, I know what you want. I can help you get it. I'm definitely more reliable than that classmate of yours Spectrum. Ha, I'm just playing around, it's not a big project. If it were a big project, I wouldn't send a single student out. Shen Tianfu became anxious and said, I don't want much, just 1%, but I hope Mr. Li will come forward to rescue my son. In exchange, I will give Anna Shen to you. Really? I want Anna Shen, so I don't need anyone else to give it to me, right? Of course, she is just an addition, and the main thing is other cooperation. The commission you give to your classmate must be more than 1%. I promise to do better than him and purchase more weight. I am a businessman, if you give me a chance, I will definitely give you satisfaction. Li Yuan pondered. Shen Tianfu doesn't have many advantages. But in this matter, ruthlessness is definitely the greatest advantage. Mr. Shen is so confident. Why don't you tell me how much you can get? The annual output in South America is 80,000 tons, and I can get at least 40,000 tons. It's amazing, but it's a pity that I can't use that much. I only need a few thousand tons. Shen Tianfu immediately said, Mr. Li, I know you very well. If it's just a few thousand tons, you don't have to arrange the manpower yourself, you can just get it from the market. If you don't tell secrets, I'll just pay for the errands. As long as you can keep my son safe. Li Yuan took a deep breath and said, I'm really on vacation recently. Mr. Shen should call back the day after tomorrow. Can Mr. Li leave his contact information? Just call this phone. After saying that, Li Yuan hung up the phone and walked out of the room. Sitting on the sofa, waiting for Anna Shen to deliver the midnight snack. A few minutes later, Anna Shen brought the bowls and chopsticks to Li Yuan, and then half knelt down beside him to wait. Li Yuan said, "Your father just gave you to me." Hearing this, Anna Shen raised her head. This face, even for Li Yuan, is undoubtedly the number one. Except for Wen Yuxian, who can barely hit it, everyone else is half a step behind. Anna Shen said slowly, "I can give it, but it's not from him, it's from Linlin. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 278. Anna Shen's answer still surprised Li Yuan. It tasted a bit like the bowl of noodles Zhang Yuling gave him. "Then just wait until Linlin tells me personally. Others cannot be her master." He knew from the beginning that the call was from Shen Tianfu, and deliberately made an excuse for Anna Shen to answer it. After all, Xu Yanlin couldn't handle Shen Tianfu's shamelessness, so he simply took over the matter. Shen Tianfu can use whatever means he has, he can handle it. Anna Shen said and Li Yuan continued, "Your dad will call the day after tomorrow, so please contact me then." "Okay." Li Yuan ate something and asked Anna Shen to go to bed. He was thinking about what Shen Tianfu said. There was no doubt that Chen Qi had little hope, but he was not at ease letting Shen Tianfu take over the matter. No matter how nice he said it, he couldn't get rid of the situation where he had no one to use. He still has a lot of money in his hands. Previously, he only injected $10 billion into Lotus Trust out of more than $30 billion, and the remaining $20 billion still needs to be spent. Even the speed at which more than $20 billion are spent is definitely not as fast as the speed at which I make money. Lianhua Trust mainly has two businesses, one is family fund investment, and the other is holding positions on behalf of Li Yuan in companies under his name. It doesn't cost much. The US dollar will soon become worthless as it is drained, and it will either be spent or find opportunities to bury it in the stock market. Investing in the stock market is troublesome because the amount of capital is too large. Next year, the 5-phase Dai Foundation will be expanded to $10 billion. At most, he will invest another $10 billion in stocks, adding up to $20 billion, which is already the limit. Otherwise, the car will be too big and it will be inconvenient to turn around at the end of next year, and it will also be focused on by those big funds. If he wants to take away profits quietly, he can't do it too big. The entire US stock market is flexible, but it cannot withstand the elasticity of tens of billions of dollars. Especially if he is only going to do some super large cap stocks, the goal will be even more obvious. Thinking about it being around 3 in the morning, I still had no idea. In his heart, he was inclined to let Shen Tianfu take over. After all, mining will be the mainstream in the next few years, and it is also the bridgehead against the dollar's flood. As a representative of lithium mines, lithium carbonate has increased from more than 40,000 tons per ton to 470,000 tons per ton. Other minerals have also increased by 2 to 3 times. He focuses on gold and lithium mines. South American lithium mines have an annual output of 80,000 tons of lithium carbonate. If we can capture 40,000 tons. In fact, 40,000 tons is not much. Even based on the market price, it is only over $1 billion, a mere $200 million. Global lithium mine production capacity has not yet been developed. His actions may expand global lithium mine production capacity in advance, but the expansion will not be too much. The main focus is on mining rights. If he can obtain the mining rights, he can safely stock up on goods. There is nothing better than stocking up on goods. Even if he doesn't sell them, he can still digest them internally. Mainly on the African side. There is raw ore in Africa, even if Chen Qi gets hundreds of thousands of tons of raw ore and comes back to refine it himself. The global annual production of lithium carbonate is currently only 200,000 tons, of which 80,000 tons are in South America and the other 120,000 tons are in China. In a few years, global lithium carbonate production capacity will rapidly expand to 600,000 tons, of which nearly 400,000 tons are domestic. Where does the domestic production capacity come from? Most of it is processed and refined from raw ore purchased from abroad. After all, the content of several domestic lithium ore salt lakes is not high and cannot make up for such a large gap. There was a period of time when the world was short of lithium and the gap was particularly large. Lithium carbonate is not a small industry. According to the highest data, the production capacity is 600,000 tons, the unit price is 470,000 tons, and the global output value is close to 300 billion per year. In fact, it will only be higher. If you win the lithium mine at this position, even if the price drops in the future, it will remain at a price of more than 100,000 or 200,000 ton of lithium carbonate. No matter what, you will make a profit. He believed that Shen Tianfu could do this well, and he would never die of hunger no matter how ruthless he was. It was almost 4 o'clock in the morning. He returned to the room and fell asleep with his arms around the soft Xu Yanlin. It's like holding a big soft doll, the sleep aid effect is at 1,000,000%. After waking up, it was already past 12 noon, and he found Xu Yanlin still lying next to him. Didn't you go out to play this morning? The scenery nearby is beautiful, and the viewing platform in the morning is even more stunning. Xu Yanlin smiled and said, "No, I just kept looking at the senior here, and then I became fascinated." "Really?" "In fact, I was watching you last night, and I accidentally did something impulsive." "Do you feel it? Have it?" Xu Yanlin lay directly in Li Yuan's arms and continued, "Is it okay to have a baby?" Li Yuan. Xu Yanlin can't even take care of herself. It's sheer nonsense to expect her to have a baby. No matter what, we have to wait 3 to 5 years. He was just joking, but Xu Yanlin didn't care at all. "Aren't you afraid of delaying your studies?" "A little bit, but it doesn't matter if the senior likes it." "Then wait a little longer. We can have children after you graduate." "But last night." "Do you really believe it? Think about it for yourself. If it really happened, would you not feel anything at all?" Xu Yanlin is extremely sensitive. "Well, I was too tired yesterday, so." Li Yuan looked at Xu Yanlin, who was a little unsure, and hugged Xu Yanlin directly to the balcony in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. "The first thing you say when you wake up every day is to give your bag some air. Just the clouds outside the window, the gentle wind, and a slight moan. Fake tourism is a crowded tourist attraction. The real travel is to completely relax yourself." "Husband. What did you call me?" "Ah, senior. When you fell asleep last night, you kept talking about my senior grandfather. It sounded very nice." Xu Yanlin has never dared to post on WeChat moments. She took a bunch of photos and could only enjoy them by herself. Li Yuan saw it and helped her send it to several moments, including the one where he is holding Xu Yanlin and looking at the scenery on the terrace. The photographer is Shen Anna. For Xu Yanlin, the feeling of being recognized is more important than anything else. In her eyes, the most beautiful scenery is looking at Li Yuan sleeping next to her. After all, no matter how beautiful other scenery is, she cannot stare at it for 4 or 5 hours. She didn't know how many times she kissed her secretly. If she hadn't been afraid of waking Li Yuan, she would have gone even further. After 2 days, she was completely satisfied with the sense of belonging. She hopes it can continue like this. Well, it's understandable that she will almost do it in the future. After all, Li Yuan has done so much. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 3rd, Li Yuan and Xu Yanlin tidied up together. After all, they had not gone out since they woke up at 12:30. Anna Shen prepared lunch, and after the three of them finished eating, they left the villa. The trip of 3 days and 2 nights has come to an end. This is the first time that Li Yuan has spent such a long time with someone. The last time I was in the hospital didn't count. He had to go to work in the evening, which happened to be Saturday and Sunday, otherwise he wouldn't be able to spare time. When I got home, I found no one at home. He called his mother and found out that the whole family was at Zhang Yuan Qiao's side. Regarding his gossip, the family has begun to selectively filter out it. They will get angry after reading it, and they can't say anything about Li Yuan. They simply seal their hearts with cement and don't read anything. Zhang Yuling didn't have any objections. What else could they say? When Li Yuan rushed to Zhang Yuan Qiao's side, no one except Zhang Yuling gave him a good look. The same goes for the child. After all, he is only 2 or 3 months old. He spends more time sleeping than awake every day, and he doesn't even open his eyes to look at Li Yuan. After dinner, Zhang Yuling called him into the room. Zhang Yuling had the most confidence to face him, because from beginning to end, she never spent a penny on Li Yuan. She also made up for the childbirth and rent from other places. Husband, let me tell you something. From now on, if you hype up your relationship or anything like that, don't show those intimate photos. Your parents will feel uncomfortable after seeing them. The so-called intimate photos are those posted by Xu Yanlin on her WeChat moments. It's normal for someone to steal those photos. Li Yuan came closer, stared into Zhang Yuling's eyes and asked, "What about you, wife?" Zhang Yuling said with some lack of confidence, "I don't care, as long as you are happy. Now that you know it, you won't be indifferent." In the past, shopping in shopping malls and so on could be regarded as pure hype. But now we are all going on vacation together, can it still be hype? She knew that Xu Yanlin had known Li Yuan earlier, and might even have been with Li Yuan earlier than she did. It's just that he took the wrong approach and robbed Li Yuan first. Even if she cared a little, she could only express it through other people's mouths. If she said it herself, Li Yuan would probably dislike her. You won't lie. You should close your eyes every time you lie. Actually, well. Before Zhang Yuling finished speaking, Li Yuan kissed her lips. Li Yuan liked the feeling of being with Zhang Yuling very much. She was completely different from others. No matter how intense the emotion is, it will not be expressed immediately. She slowly entered that slightly tipsy state, and her whole person exuded a lazy temperament. As the body relaxed a little bit, it was the same as when the alcohol first came on. He squinted his eyes, but there was no smell of alcohol, accompanied by a light nasal voice. After a while, she rested her head on Li Yuan's arm, as if she was sobering up. He turned around and lay on Li Yuan's body again. The alcohol that had settled down seemed to have been completely released, and he opened his eyes. I'm not angry anymore." Li Yuan didn't have a chance to explain in this matter. It was best if Zhang Yuling didn't let him explain. "It's just that my waist is affected. Anyway, I will be working for several days. Either give yourself a holiday as a whole, or give yourself a holiday. You have to take advantage of both." If he had been 20 years older, there would be no way he could have settled this matter. He planned to invest more in Chenji and let Chenji make up for himself. He left Zhang Yuanqiao at around 8 o'clock. Before leaving, the little guy finally opened his eyes and let him hold him for a while. When I arrived at the company, I took care of a few things first and responded to a few messages along the way. For example, Anna Shen sent a message asking if she should come over at around 5 o'clock in the morning with her mobile phone. Li Yuan agreed. After all, if you delay for 1 day, you will lose 1 day's profit. Since Chen Qi was destined not to eat meat, he could only take the meat away and drink some soup for the sake of his hard work. After closing, Li Yuan saw Anna Shen in the car downstairs of the company. He took the cell phone from her hand and called Shen Tianfu. This matter was not deliberately troubling Anna Shen, the main reason was that he could not let Shen Tianfu contact him directly. He must let Shen Tianfu find Chen Qi and talk to him through Chen Qi. Otherwise, Chen Qi wouldn't even be able to drink the soup, and no one would help him keep an eye on Shen Tianfu. The distance is so far, who knows what Shen Tianfu is doing. It was impossible for him to check with Chen Qi every time after Shen Tianfu said something. For example, Shen Tianfu said he wanted to build a mine and negotiated a project that required hundreds of millions of dollars. How could he call himself directly? How do you know if this project is real or fake? Ask Chen Qi to call, and Chen Qi will naturally know about it. The core things must be in your own hands before you can rest assured. When the time comes, everything Shen Tianfu can do will have to go through Chen Qi. In this way, there is almost no need to worry about what Shen Tianfu is hiding from him. Unless Chen Qi and Shen Tianfu wear a pair of pants. It's impossible in the short term, and it's unlikely in the long term. He is the richest man, even if he doesn't take his roommate's feelings into consideration, it is obvious who he is following. The call was connected instantly. Shen Tianfu had been waiting for a long time. Mr. Li, thank you for giving me a chance. I promise to do this beautifully. Shen Tianfu knew what this call meant. If Li Yuan was unwilling to cooperate, the call would not have been made. Well, I'll call Chen Qi later. If Mr. Shen needs anything then, just ask Chen Qi to cooperate. This matter is your priority. Okay, thank you Mr. Li for your trust. I promise you will have the results within half a month. Then I'll wait for good news from Mr. Shen. Just ask Chen Qi for the specific target. The funds that lithium mines can digest are limited and must be matched with gold mines. Copper ore and aluminum ore are also auxiliary resources, but they are not scarce and are not that important. We won't do this in the early stage. We'll see what happens in the second half of next year. Shen Tianfu didn't ask for Li Yuan's contact information anymore. He probably guessed Li Yuan's intention. Li Yuan handed the phone to Anna Shen, and Anna Shen asked, "Do you want to go back to find Linlin? She woke up when I left." "No, I have something to do when I get back." "Well, then, thank you. Anna Shen is free now. No need to thank me, no matter how much money your dad makes in the future, it will have nothing to do with you." Anna Shen got out of the car. Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that she didn't make any movement. He deliberately asked Anna Shen to talk to Xu Yanlin about that matter. Obviously, she didn't say it now. Not saying it means that you are not selfish to a certain extent. Whenever she told Xu Yanlin that she wanted Xu Yanlin to give her to her, it meant that she was not satisfied with the status quo and was eager to put herself in the right position and enjoy what a richest woman should have. This means that she doesn't care about Xu Yanlin's thoughts at all and fully displays her selfish psychology. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 279. In just half a month, Li Yuan worked hard and finally liquidated the fourth Dai fund. It's already mid to late October, and there are still about 10 days left before November. These 10 days are his vacation, but it is not a pure vacation. For a drink match with 13 Taibao, because he had paid more than 3 billion in advance, he only paid more than 9 billion later. In addition to Pu Mao, there are also a large number of Zodiac Mao, and they are almost all obtained at the X-factory price. Even if Li Yuan gives a 40% premium, the cost is not high. The cost of common grass is more than 1,300, and the cost of Zodiac grass is more than 1,600. He has seen the purchase orders. They are basically from last year and the first half of this year. There are very few in the second half of the year. The reason is simple. The price of wine will rise in the second half of the year. It's not because they are hoarding goods. What they originally took was inventory held by others. These will not be circulated on the market. It is purely the financial attribute that has been transferred to this area. In my previous life, at the end of 2018, the price of mutai rose. In the second half of 2019, it completely stabilized the position of Pu Mao at 2,800 and the Zodiac Moutai at 3,000. Of course, there are a lot of good wines in the warehouse, such as vintage wines, especially MT80 worth more than 200,000 bottles. There are more than 30 bottles, which were given to Li Yuan by the 13 Taibao. After all, after excluding various costs, they earned more than 3 billion this time, and the tens of millions of dollars in wine given to Li Yuan was nothing at all. Li Yuan handed over the warehouse to Ho Wenbin and others and asked them to be responsible for connecting with Bixin. Bixin is working steadily. Through major game anchors and Jushin Media's short video operations, registered users have exceeded the 50 million mark from more than 10 million. Although it is still not good, the revenue has only increased than before. Twice as much. The previous revenue was only tens of millions, and the promotion fees for the big anchors were more than tens of millions, not to mention that the operations of Jushin Media were the majority. They attract traffic to Bixin through various videos of beauties, and attract otakus by editing the accompanying voices of various Bixin ladies. This effect is even stronger than the promotion of those big anchors. The expenses must go to Jushin Media, and they have to pay tens of millions in advertising fees. That is to say, Li Yuan had previously injected tens of millions of dollars into Bixin through Lianhua Trust, otherwise Bixin would have been heavily in debt. This batch of wine is also a collaborative project with Bixin. Bixin has changed the previous membership system and specially set up 10 levels from VIP 0 to VIP 9. In terms of consumption, $1 is VIP 1, 100 million is VIP 9, and the highest consumer currently is VIP 5, which only costs tens of thousands of yuan. After spending up to VIP 5, you are eligible to purchase 2 bottles of Pu Mao at a price of 1,499 or 2 bottles of Zodiac Mao at a price of 2,499. After spending up to VIP 6, you can lock in 100G gold spot and can withdraw it at any time. If it reaches VIP 6 in December 2018, then 100G gold will be locked at the market price of that day. Even if gold rises later, users can take delivery at the previously locked price. The main purpose of locking the gold price is to give Li Yuan an honest reason to purchase gold from abroad in the future. Because Bixin involves related products, they have the final say on how big the demand is. No one says anything about how many tons or tens of tons of gold will be purchased. Gold will be one of his most important asset allocations in 2 years. The other thing is to implement the benefits on the surface and not play with probability. For consumption on other platforms, they only give vouchers and nominal discounts, but here I have given them real benefits. After all, how many people can buy gold at the market price? No matter how bad it is, you have to go to major banks to withdraw cash at an additional fee of 5 or 10 yuan. As the price of gold rises, this welfare package will become a powerful tool to attract traffic. There must be some people who want to buy gold at the market price, and then it is possible for them to change their consumption habits on other platforms. As long as Bixin is more cost-effective and the quality control is stricter, there is no reason why they can't come and get VIP. Not only playing with someone is considered consumption, but also using Bixin Pay to purchase goods is considered consumption. There is also private customization for VIP 7, and you can enjoy the benefits of VIP 5 and VIP 6 once a year. With this batch of wine, Qingtian Group makes money and earns traffic through comparison. It can be regarded as an in-depth cooperation within the group. At that time, the wine will be randomly matched with 2 bottles of the same year. If it matches the current year, no extra money will be required. If it matches the previous year, an additional fee of 30 yuan per bottle will be required. If it matches the previous 2 years, an additional fee will be required for each bottle. $60. Not to make money, but to highlight the sense of ritual. After all, when the Mutai vintage is increased by 1 year, the price generally increases by 100 yuan on the market. He will continue to collect wine in the future. Even if he can't sell so much, Li Yuan will keep some bottom positions in his hands. At the same time, Qingtian Group's algorithm big data center and artificial intelligence large model center were established. Li Yuan went over and chatted with them for a day, talking about some of the directions he was considering to prevent them from going the wrong way. The direction of large-scale language models and the direction of AI drawing are the top priorities, as well as algorithm analysis. Some of his words also have a commanding effect. Another thing is lithium mines and gold mines. After Shen Tianfu took over, the progress of things suddenly improved. Within half a month, Chen Qi reported that more than 4,000 tons had been obtained from 2 companies. As for the means, bribery. Li Yuan doesn't care anyway, he will wash it again before shipping it back to the country. Only Shen Tianfu can do this kind of thing decisively. If this method fails to achieve the goal, kidnapping will probably happen. Li Yuan made the first payment, $30 million. Anyway, Shen Tianfu has taken care of South America, so he will naturally go to Africa to get raw minerals. If he can get a start, he will have expectations for what will follow. Qingtian Capital is about to go public, and the financial sector has been very popular recently. Time slowly came to October 26. On this day, Wen Yuxian specially posted a video for her tens of millions of fans to watch. Come to Qian Capital and open the door to welcome guests. At present, only 2 products have been sorted out, namely Lakian Mixed Small and Medium Caps and Lakian Zhongzheng 20 Pioneer Mix. All major platforms across the country have subscription channels. Much better than Qingtian Capital, Qingtian Capital has nothing to do with it, and many platforms have blocked their fund codes. After all, so far, Qingtian Capital has not paid a dime in protection fees, and it has not even paid any benefits for listing. Fortunately, Tang Jianjun came forward and asked several state-owned securities companies such as CITIC and Galaxy to distribute it. After all, not everyone has opened an account with Qingtian Securities. Otherwise, all the tickets will have to be distributed by Qingtian Securities. If someone abandons the shares, the securities company will have to bear it. There are now rumors on the internet that many people are abandoning their stocks, and several major brokerages have lost a lot of stocks. One can imagine how much pressure there is on the day of listing. Whenever a securities firm makes a little profit, it will definitely throw out its chips. Those chips cannot be used for shorting, and the amount is huge. Qingtian Capital is a 150 billion giant. They didn't know how many times they scolded Li Yuan in their hearts. Li Yuan commented in the comment area of Wen Yuxian's video. Money. It meant that he was no longer able to complain about this ridiculous name given by Wen Yuxian. Incoming capital? If you were looking for a name for a dog, you wouldn't choose something so vulgar. What kind of taste does Wen Yuxian have? The likes of his comments quickly exceeded 500,000, and the number of likes on the video was just over 400,000. And it can be seen with the naked eye that the increase in his likes exceeds the increase in video likes, and the gap will become wider and wider. Countless people in the comment section laughed at this name, and at the same time, some also laughed at Wen Yuxian for not overestimating his abilities. A mere 19-year-old, relying on his family's money to act like this? Be the CEO of a fund company? Let fans invest money? Only fools vote. But there are quite a few such fools. Because 2.5 hours later, Wen Yuxian sent a screenshot to Li Yuan. The subscription funds are already 600 million. My starting point is much higher than yours, right? Yeah, come on, schoolgirl. Li Yuan's subscription amount was not for one day, but for several days. Based on the first day, there are indeed not as many as Wen Yuxian. Wen Yuxian will definitely break 1 billion a day, and may even reach 2 billion. After the share is confirmed tomorrow, it will officially begin. Moreover, Wen Yuxian operates two funds at the same time. Qingtian Capital has also applied for several products, including Qingtian CSI 300 Pioneer Enhancement, Qingtian Technology Leading, and Qingtian Hybrid Enhancement. Including the previous Qingtian Mixed Small and Medium Caps, there are a total of 4 funds. Li Yuan has not announced the news yet, and is going to wait and see. Let Wen Yuxian go first, then he could hold Wen Yuxian's butt and lift her up. After all, it's not a good market right now, and there are still 2 or 3 months to go before the new year. Even though it has been bearish for a year, the market is still very conservative. If he announces the news, he will immediately siphon away Wen Yuxian's funds. However, it is still possible to trade secretly. October 27th ushered in Monday. At Lakian Capital, Wen Yuxian came to the company formally wearing a small suit today. The company is already determining the share, which is a total of 2.2 billion. She had been waiting for this day for a long time, and she didn't even go to school for the past 6 months. Starting with 2.2 billion, he is already much stronger than Li Yuan. But being strong at this time is not really strong. Making money with the people is the most important thing. She has a large trading room because she is responsible for both funds. In addition to her, Lakian Capital also has a fund manager. However, the pure mascot is just to improve the structure of the entire company. After all, Wen Yuxian doesn't look like he has many years of experience in the industry. Fund company executives must have several experienced professionals, otherwise the approval will not be passed. It was about to open and she was very nervous. She didn't know whether Li Yuan was nervous on the first day of trading. If he wasn't nervous, then he had lost. He must be nervous. It's his first time. Isn't it his first time? After the official opening, she began to issue instructions according to the scene she had rehearsed countless times. Lijian CSI 20 Pioneer focuses on large cap stocks, and Lijian blends small and medium cap stocks, focusing on stocks with a market value of 10 billion to 50 billion. She will not enter a market capitalization of less than 10 billion because she is too busy. Now that she has determined her share of 2.2 billion, she must invest in it. If it doesn't go in, just don't rush to confirm before. You can wait until tomorrow to confirm. It's just that she doesn't want to wait anymore. 2.2 billion can't be used for fun, so just go back to school. The traders in the trading room didn't have any confidence in Wen Yuxian. Wen Yuxian has 2 flaws, the first is that she is beautiful, and the second is that she has a good figure. How can there be such a fund manager? With this appearance and figure, he doesn't look like a brainy person. Even the instructions given by Wen Yuxian were irregular, and there was no doubt that he had no experience at all. In this one-word trading technique, instructions must be given clearly and accurately. With so many people mixed together, a certain trader must be clear about what he should do and whether this instruction is for him. Today's market conditions are very average, and Wen Yuxian is also relatively conservative. He will test the market with a small amount of money in the early trading, make a good bottom position, and then start to take the initiative in the afternoon. When the market closed at 11:30, she had only invested 500 million and held nearly 30 stocks. During the break, she sat in the corner of the restaurant eating alone. Her company's restaurant is run by herself and she doesn't share it with others, so it's relatively quiet overall. She doesn't look relaxed, because after the trial trading, few stocks have met her expectations, and the overall stock is currently losing money. Originally, she thought that if she released a signal on the market, the funds inside would be responded to. Result: the funds inside did respond, but it was just a smash. There was an illusion, as if those funds had finally been taken advantage of by someone who couldn't wait for her to take over. Even if she buys high-quality stocks with strong fundamentals. For example, BID, she is more optimistic about this industry than anyone else, and the current stock price is only 32 yuan. The results of it? She invested 20 million in early trading, and the stock price fell by 3 points. Now that the price is running away, are the funds in it crazy? She was completely stunned. This situation did not occur when she used tens of millions of funds to practice. This year, despite the bear market, she made a profit of 30% using her own account, earning close to 20 million. She thinks the time is too ripe. But when it came to actually playing games with big funds, I was at a loss. If things were going as they were now, not to mention a good start and a loss of 5 points, even if those funds had a conscience and did not bully a little girl like her to death. She didn't know what to do in the afternoon. But when the arrow hits the string, it has to be fired. After eating, she closed her eyes for a while and then resolutely walked into the trading room. It is normal for reality to conflict with ideals. This is just the beginning. Then, in the afternoon, she started to step up her game, making her intentions clear by entering the market. All the fundamentals, themes, and concepts are just additions. The rise and fall of stocks all depends on capital. Wen Yuxian is seeking consensus, but most funds in the market do not think so. Is there big money coming in? Just in time, they can escape and run away. Until 2:30 in the afternoon, Wen Yuxian's face turned green when he looked at the stocks he held. The overall loss is 3 points, and the current admission price is 1.5 billion. That is a loss of 45 million. The remaining 30 minutes can almost be considered half an hour of darkness. Suddenly, a trader said, "Boss, there are funds coming in to close bid." "Boss, Longi shares have reached the daily limit. Sungrow Power has also reached its daily limit." One after another sounds passed into Wen Yuxian's ears. One after another, stocks began to hit the daily limit, and even if things went wrong, they would start to pull up in an attempt to seal the market. It's just that the force of the smash was too great, and some of them failed to seal the board successfully. She was confused. Where do the funds come from? They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 280. All the traders in the trading room were shocked. Is my beautiful boss so powerful? I selected nearly 50 stocks in one day, and as a result, 30 of them reached the daily limit, a dozen of them hit the daily limit, and only a few stocks showed slight losses. The overall market has not changed much. It is more like funds coming from the market rather than coming in from the outside. Wen Yuxian could not think much at this time and could only use the funds in his hands to forcibly close more than a dozen stocks that were on the verge of being closed. Forget the other checks, there is insufficient funds today, so we have to wait for tomorrow. After the market closed, she looked at the profits of the account she operated with some disbelief. Because she basically opened tickets 1 or 2 points lower, her cost was not very high. When she covered her position in the afternoon, she even took over a lot of underwater chips. On average, she made about 11 points on the first 1 billion, and she made about 11 points on the next 6. I used more than 100 million to make boards, but I didn't make much money. Even so, today's floating profit still reached more than 160 million. Among them, the incoming money is CSI20 Pioneer Mix at 11.3%, and the incoming money is mixed small and medium caps at 6.71%. Wen Yuxian never thought that he could make such super profits, it came out of nowhere. It was as if all the luck suddenly converged on her, and everything she bought increased. It was even more subversive to those traders. They always felt that Wen Yuxian was not good enough. What now? Oh my god, the market hasn't changed much, and there's no major positive news outside the market. It's just a game of funds. How can your boss get off to a good start? Wen Yuxian couldn't wait to have the data compiled. At 6 p.m., he released today's net worth directly on the official website. As soon as this result came out, everyone on the internet was confused. Holy shit, what did I find? An increase of 11 points in one day? Are you the one who started the A-share market? Today, there were not many daily limit tickets in the entire market. There were only 62 daily limit tickets at the opening and only 58 daily limit tickets at the end of the day. Where did these gains come from? Is it possible to have T at 0 now? Why didn't anyone tell me? In the T at 1 market, unless the fund has a heavy position in GEM or new stocks, and other stocks are at their daily limit, the overall net worth may exceed 10 points. Otherwise it's almost impossible. Of course, there are also situations like Wen Yuxian, who can adjust all positions, re-enter the market by exchanging shares, take over the market at a low position, and finally pull back the market, which can also increase the net worth of more than a dozen points. It's just that the difficulty of operation makes it almost non-existent. Even Li Yuan has never made such a profit in Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, which is only 7 or 8 points a day at most. Wen Yuxian became famous in one battle, and countless people regretted that they missed more than a dozen points of profits. In the past, Wen Yuxian was just beautiful and had a good figure and temperament. As a financial anchor, even if her copywriting was good, it was not enough to make her have more than 10 million fans. Apart from her, the first lady in finance, the second sister in finance only has more than 1 million fans, which is an order of magnitude behind her. Most of them are due to her incredible looks and status as a rich lady. And now, she has another aura as a talented female fund manager. Funds began to pour into her company. In the past 18 hours today, the subscription funds were only 200 million, but since the net worth was announced, in just 6 hours, the subscription funds reached 6 billion. After Wen Yuxian came home, her father was shocked and couldn't believe that his daughter could be so awesome. Daughter, you are in the limelight today. Now the internet is saying that you can turn Li Yuan into a scumbag in an instant. Li Yuan dug up suppliers for Dongfang Lithium Energy, and according to the information he received, Li Yuan didn't use the raw materials at all, he just found a large warehouse to store them. He didn't want to go against Li Yuan, but now Dongfang Lineng's costs have increased significantly because of Li Yuan's revenge. In order to reduce costs, we can only expand our business. The original lithium carbonate production capacity of about 30,000 tons per year has now been forced to increase to 50,000 tons, causing the price of lithium carbonate in the entire market to fall slightly. To put it bluntly, what Li Yuan did was thankless. Oriental Lithium was forced to find new suppliers. Small suppliers were not enough, and large suppliers could not meet the small volume. If you want to talk about it, Oriental Lithium Energy can only be forced to buy more goods. Several small businesses were directly squeezed to death because of this. Dongfang Lithium can do more work than before, and earn less than before. There was inevitably some resentment in his heart. As a big boss in the city, he will not show it. Now that his daughter is so good, he doesn't care at all comparing Li Yuan and Wen Yuxian. Wen Yuxian said, "The pull board was a little weird today. I feel like he was helping me behind the scenes, but I don't know how he knew I held the position. The positions of the incoming capital have not been announced and will not be announced until at least a few days." She didn't understand how Li Yuan knew what stocks she bought. When Father Wen Yuxian heard this, he immediately said, "Ah, really? There is no one else but him, otherwise I would have lost tens of millions to get in today." Actually I also think what those people said is a bit too much. Just praise you when you are praising you. What's the point of trying to bully others? When Yuxian. Dad, that's not what you said just now. You also said that you could turn Li Yuan into a scumbag in seconds. Is this what netizens said? Even if it's what a netizen said, you don't need to convey it word for word. Just say Li Yuan is not as good as yourself. Words like turning into rubbish in seconds are generally not used as paraphrasing words unless they are what is in the heart. Let's wait and see tomorrow. We can't see anything today. Yeah, well, I'll arrange what you want to eat tonight. Dad, since when did you start worrying about such small things? Hey, aren't you the god of wealth in our family? I should ask more about your thoughts. Then you listen to me and expand production of Dongfang lithium energy. Huh? Are you still expanding production? The national demand for lithium carbonate is not large right now, just the demand for electric vehicles. If we continue to do this, we will be number one in the country. Then it will be number one in the country. After saying that, she returned to her room. Sitting on the chair, she was still thinking about today's incident. Originally, she and Li Yuan had some tacit understanding, and they used the breakup to create gimmicks and divert her attention. It's just that she originally wanted to use her abilities to compete with Li Yuan, but now it seems that her abilities are of no use. Being carried away by Li Yuan, she could only change her mind. She did not send any messages or make any calls to Li Yuan, otherwise she would not be able to tell what would happen in the future. Now it all depends on tacit understanding. There is no law in the world that does not allow tacit understanding. She had to figure out what Li Yuan was going to do next, otherwise she would still be out of control. I changed from a trader to a human being. Early the next morning, she had dinner and came to the company. Today is undoubtedly a major test. After all, she determined the share of 6 billion in one breath. Her goal is not 10 billion or 20 billion, but 50 or 60 billion. If she couldn't seize this opportunity, she wouldn't be able to rush forward. Because according to the agreement, Li Yuan will show up in a few days. Qingtian Capital's ability to attract money is much stronger than hers. She can hardly attract money in the market, but can only attract money from Li Yuan. When the call auction began, she paid close attention to the stocks she held and prepared a memorandum for opening new positions. Almost all stocks that hit their daily limit yesterday opened 2 or 3 points lower. This position is perfect for her. After all, 6 billion funds need to be invested, and a new position is definitely not as good as an old position. She does not have the ability to adjust positions frequently, so she can only seize the current opportunity. The stocks she picked out would not be let go easily. This position is very mysterious. The funds that entered the market yesterday were not profitable, but the funds that pulled the market were profitable. He made a gesture as if he was about to run away. Trying to let those funds that play the market take over the chips that pulled the market yesterday. Although for the funds that pulled the market yesterday, this position can only be 1 or 2 points or even no profit margin at most, but at least it is better than the funds that came in to chase the price higher. This involves the choice of human nature. If you see through the enemy's plan, as long as you stick to it, you can be invincible to a certain extent. If you are influenced by the enemy and are afraid of being buried, you can only endure the pain and exit. When Yuxian couldn't be 100% sure whether it was Li Yuan or not. He could only say that the other party's skills were very high, but a bit too consistent. All the stocks that were closed yesterday started like this, and many people could recognize them at once. After the market opened, she immediately issued an order to take the chips at this position, and did not enter with a large amount of money, so as not to increase the price too much. At the same time, I also started to cautiously build new positions. In one morning, she successfully invested 4 billion in funds. For those tickets she held yesterday, it was great to collect chips at 2 or 3 points underwater. After all, with yesterday's daily limit, a lot of funds were released. When the market is not good, there is a strong willingness to get out. They have been waiting all morning and have not seen any improvement, and they do not expect any good market conditions today. In particular, the holdings of the CSI 20 fund are basically large-cap stocks worth over RMB 50 billion. It is difficult for such large-cap stocks to be closed for 2 consecutive days. At least on the surface, yesterday's ceiling was to prepare for today's shipment. The market keeps shipping, the trading volume keeps increasing, but the stock price just doesn't rise. After the market opened in the afternoon, the market situation suddenly changed. There was no 2 o'clock, no 2:30. It started directly from 1 o'clock, and the funds exploded. At the same time, Wen Yuxian found that funds began to enter the dozen or so new positions he had created in the morning. As her funds entered the market, those new positions soon reached their limit. But yesterday's position was stopped after it reached the closing position. No money? If you don't have money, you won't go find your own new position. It's not shipping in the early trading, it's shipping at this time. The board will definitely be closed in late trading, but now is the best time to ship. Wen Yuxian immediately threw out the chips she held yesterday in batches. She now knew very well that it was Li Yuan who was making orders for her. What is the meaning of making a market? Just let her get super profits in the past few days and absorb the funds in the market. It's just that she doesn't quite understand why Li Yuan didn't move at all in the morning. Did he lose a little time in the afternoon? If you pull directly to this position in the early trading, you can definitely sell out all your chips. The situation in the morning session is somewhat different from that in the afternoon session. And she didn't know exactly how much money Li Yuan used. He is taking all the blame, how can he explain it to the Christians? She shipped goods and re-established positions at the same time. She knew that Li Yuan would definitely be able to find her position and feed her accurately. Her goal of planning for the medium and long term has failed, because it is impossible to make so much money in the medium and long term. Now Li Yuan is paving the way for her to force her into a state of frequently adjusting positions. Only in this way can you make money. Around 2:30, just as she expected, all the stocks she held reached their daily limit, including several stocks that Li Yuan missed yesterday. After the market closed, she knew that today's earnings were even more explosive than yesterday's without even looking. Incoming money CSI 20 Pioneer mix at 13.1%. Incoming money mix small and medium caps at 12.76%. After the earnings were announced, the market did not react much. Because another news appeared in the market today, which took away Wen Yuxian's popularity. That is, the Sunny Mix small and medium caps led by Guomeng finally rose today, or sharply. At 3.28%. Since Guomeng took over Qingtian Mix small and medium caps, it has not risen for a day and has been falling every day. No one knows how she operates. Anyway, even if some stocks can make money, other stocks will fall sharply and hold back. Today is the first time that Qingtian Mix small and medium caps has risen in the hands of Guomeng. Compared with the incoming capital, there is indeed a long way to go, but Li Yuan's fans were in tears. I have finally waited for this day. Dad, you can rest in peace. The fund you bought has gone up. It has gone up. My wife gave birth to twins for me, and I have never been so excited. I finally don't have to eat steamed buns and pickles. I'm going to eat hot pot now. Good for liquor. Everything is good for liquor. Even the topic of Qingtian capital becoming popular has become a hot search topic. This shows how high the attention of this fund is. After all, the incoming capital has just come out. Even if Wen Yuxian is popular, there is no way to compare with Li Yuan. At this time, Guomeng was having dinner with Li Yuan. She led others to do the trading in the morning, as per Li Yuan's request. Li Yuan came to the company in the afternoon, and she was doing odd jobs. Faced with her first day rise, her mood remained calm. After all, if she could withstand a year's decline, her heart would have become as cold as the fish seller in the wet market. Even if Li Yuan invited her to eat hot pot, it wouldn't be hot. Although she didn't know what Li Yuan was doing, she could tell that Li Yuan's trading methods were extremely abnormal, and they didn't look like they were for profit. So today's rise is just paving the way for a sharp fall in the next few days. It's not Li Yuan's style to use violence to gain leverage. The funds that pulled up the market on Monday opened 3 points lower on Tuesday. Originally, those funds were profitable on Monday, but Li Yuan only used a quarter of the position, and lost the money earned on the other 3/4 of the position. Today, Li Yuan used all his positions and made a profit after pulling the market. Boss, do you want me to be mentally prepared for this hot pot meal? What are you talking about, Manager Guo? I just want to treat you to a meal. Guo Meng said helplessly, is there still a grievance award this year?